Hey, welcome back to the Here's the Deal channel. Let's get this party started. You know how you can hear a statement of wisdom, and even though you might wholeheartedly agree with it, you kind of let it go in one ear and out the other, and you don't apply it to your life because this couldn't possibly happen to you. So, why even implement this strategy into my life? This is one of those things right here that we're going to be talking about today because none of what you see on the screen had to happen. There didn't have to be a defense attorney, there didn't have to be a prosecutor, the judge didn't have to get involved in this, and there didn't have to be a defendant slash victim. And yet here we are. And the reason we are here is because of a lie, one single law enforcement lie. Almost everything the cop says here on the stand is a fabrication. It's completely made up, and the cop is completely exposed. I got this from Audit the Court. I think Audit the Court, the voice that does the narration for Audit the Court sounds like the same voice that John Lang hires for Audit the Audit. So I think this is one of John Lang's channels, if I'm not mistaken. And if I remember, when the live stream gets, whatever happens within the YouTube platform, I'll make sure that the description goes beneath. I totally forgot to put it in there when I was getting the live stream ready. But I wanted to go over this real quick. This is March 23rd, 2025. The guy in the white shirt and the tie is Felipe Sotelo. He was arrested in Lansing, Michigan during a traffic stop conducted by, where's this guy? Let's go to this guy. This guy right here sitting on the witness stand. This is Officer Derek Selden of the Lansing Police Department. Now, Felipe was charged with one count of fourth degree fleeing and eluding, one count of assaulting, resisting, or obstructing a police officer, and he was arraigned the following day. He pled not guilty, of course, because he was not guilty. He is a victim of the system. The system has active police criminality. Part of that active police criminality is meeting a quota so that they can act as the revenue generators of the state. So he pled not guilty. Judge Kristen Simmons is hearing the case. It's the Ingham County District Court. And Dwayne Boyd, where's Dwayne Boyd? Dwayne Boyd, this guy all dressed in black to the left of Felipe, is acting as Felipe's defense attorney. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to make some comments along the way. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring this to you is because one of those nuggets of wisdom that we constantly reject is always film the police. I don't care how you film them, just film them. Because this didn't have to happen. And the only insurance policy that you have against police lies is a recording device, whether you're talking about a dash cam, whether you're talking about your own personal body cam, or, everybody's got cameras these days with their smartphones, or even better, a 360 camera, a really good 360 camera with really good audio. So you don't miss anything. You get every single angle, and you get some pretty good audio to boot. So just know that anytime you go outside of your house, you are playing Russian roulette with your life, because there are attackers who are dressed in costumes who want to use you as a number to pad their pockets, give themselves a plaque on the wall, a pat on the back, maybe have a dinner in their name, or give you a fake DUI so that they can get a trophy by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You fill in the blank. There's so many incentives for cops to be out there doing wrong and harming people they're supposed to be collecting and serving, or protecting and serving. They're actually collecting and committing tyranny against the rest of us. So all that to say, this courtroom appearance should not have happened, but it did. Appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to hit the like button and share this video. And also, if you want to become a channel member, let's get this thing started. Check this out.
Versus Felipe Sotelo, second, 25-00885, and then I have 25-00926.
Haley Fortunato on behalf of the people, Your Honor.
Dwayne Boyd, good up. Yeah, morning. Dwayne Boyd, P79612.
Okay, today was the date that was scheduled for preliminary examination on the fleeing vehicle, police officer assault, and then a probable cause conference. on delivery of controlled substance causing death. How are we proceeding on this?
Judge, we are proceeding to examine.
No preliminary matters before you.
There's no preliminary matter.
Some of this is very difficult to hear. They really need to up the game on their mics in this courtroom right here, but you can see that there's a subtext under there. There's some closed captions underneath so you can read what they're saying.
Your Honor.
Please call your witness.
We would call Officer Derek Selden.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
There you go. That was the first lie. I swear to give you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I will not perjure myself. The cop just lied.
You can have a seat.
And it gets bad. So bad. What's up, Dub? What's up, VA? What's up, Sweden Observer? Saddle Tramp.
You can state your first and last name and spell both.
My first name is Derek, Derek. Last name Selden, Selden.
That's the only truth he's going to tell on the witness stand.
You can proceed. Thank you.
Good morning, Officer Selden. Thank you for being here. Can you please tell me a little bit about what you do for work?
I'm a police officer at the Lansing Police Department. I've been employed with them since beginning of 2020.
Okay, and were you working on the date of March 23rd, 2025?
I was.
And did you have any contact with the defendant on that day?
I did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, how that started?
I was working road patrol for
Okay.
Lansing Police Department on that day, in the evening. And I observed a white vehicle, which I ultimately ended up attempting to stop for a traffic stop. The vehicle did not stop.
Okay, I will be interacting with you guys here, so I am going to stop this in the spirit of this live stream and just in appreciation for you guys being here. I like what Ben had said here. Lady Justice isn't blind anymore, just a pirate with an eye patch and probably a peg leg and possibly a hook for a hand and maybe even a hook for a nose. Who knows?
So eventually I did, and that's where I made contact with
Okay, can you tell me what the traffic stop was initially for? Do you recall?
the vehicle initially got my attention as it appeared to have no plate. So I started trying to catch up to it to confirm this because it was a white vehicle, ended up having a white plate. So the glare from it made it look like it wasn't there. But while I was trying to catch up to it, I noticed the vehicle started taking a series of right turns, trying to stay out of my sight, essentially. And as I got closer, the vehicle was increasing its speed more so. It ended up going through a red light to get on the highway where I observed it then doing well over the speed limit. Eventually, I did catch up to the vehicle. At that time, I could see that it had a plate.
Now, let me point something out here that the defense attorney, although he does a good job, doesn't point out. The cop used as a justification to pull this guy over. Oh, he didn't appear to I don't think he had a license plate, so I had to go catch up to him. So how fast did you have to go, officer, before you actually caught up to Felipe? Does that mean you were breaking the speed limit because of a mistake or because of a fabrication on your part?
But by this point, it had been speeding. And now that I was directly behind it, my police car with lights and sirens on, it was not pulling over.
Okay, when did you turn your lights and sirens on?
As I was getting on to the eastbound I-496 ramp from Pennsylvania in Lansing.
Okay, and so you said that's in Lansing. Is that in Ingham County?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and just for clarification for me, I'm a little confused. Did you turn your lights on after the red light was ran?
Yes, so
Okay.
I can kind of explain all that.
Sure.
At the same intersection where Pennsylvania Avenue crosses with I-496, there's another road that runs east and west just south of it, which is Mountain.
Mhm.
That's the road I initially saw the vehicle on, and as I came up to it, it took a southbound turn, then another right-hand turn to head back west. So as we're coming back up to Pennsylvania, now that we're heading west, it made a right turn. As I made the same turn a few seconds later, there's two vehicles in the travel lane stopped.
Yeah, Bob says I've lost count of the lies, and this guy is so prolific with the lies. It's very, very difficult to keep up. I tried to count them. I couldn't count them. I cannot wait for us to get to the part where the defense attorney, and again, it's sad that Felipe had to hire a defense attorney, even if it's somebody who was appointed by the state and it's quote unquote free. Your time's not free. This ties up everybody's time. How many lies? How many people have had to go to court and pay fines because of law enforcement lies? How many people are sitting and rotting in jail, separated from their families, contemplating what the hell has happened in my life? How did my life get flushed down the toilet because the court or the jury decided to believe a lying law enforcer? This is a mess. It's evil and it's frustrating, super frustrating.
At a red light, and I observed the vehicle now getting on the corner, which told me that this vehicle that I was trying to stop had to go around those vehicles that were stopped at the red light because they were right up at the line of it in order to get onto the ramp where it was. The light was already red. So at that point, I turned on my overhead lights to safely go through the intersection, start catching up to this vehicle.
Okay, and what were you wearing that day?
I was wearing my full patrol uniform with my badge vest, which says Lansing Police.
And the car that you were in, was it marked?
It was a fully marked LTD vehicle.
Okay. And so, so you get on the highway following the car, and then what happens?
As I come up the eastbound on ramp, trying to catch up to it, I observed that the distance in this vehicle.
Fire Up says 200 plus hours of work lost from corrupt government. We have a mess we are dealing with here in Michigan. Are you talking about from personal experience, Fire? And if so, maybe we can talk about this tonight after this video, or maybe in another episode, another live stream.
Greatly increased. The vehicle was moving far, far faster than the pace of traffic. So at that point, I also turned my sirens on to safely navigate through traffic, try to catch up to this vehicle. It took me a little bit to catch up to it. I observed the vehicle then cut across the lanes of I-496 eastbound and take the exit, which leads to 127 northbound.
Okay.
Along this exit, it was one lane. I watched the vehicle pass vehicles on the exit on the shoulder in order to get past them. I continued to try to catch up with my lights and sirens on. And then once we were on 127 northbound after this interchange, the vehicle then suddenly slowed to the exact speed limit, in which case I was able to get directly behind it at this point, but the vehicle still did not pull over despite my lights and sirens.
Okay, so did the vehicle ever pull over?
Eventually it did. I followed the vehicle.
You're okay. I was just gonna ask about how much time elapsed, do you think, from when you turned on your lights and sirens to when that vehicle finally pulled over?
I was directly behind the vehicle with my lights and sirens on from 127 northbound around Kalamazoo Street until Lake Lansing Road, which is a distance of 4 or 5 miles.
Okay.
And to clarify, at that point, the vehicle did not pull over. It took the Lake Lansing exit.
You know, Joseph was in here during a last live stream and he gifted 5 Here's the Deal memberships last time too. If you're the recipient of one of those free Here's the Deal memberships on behalf of Joseph, make sure you tip your hat to Joseph. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for doing that. Very kind.
We came up to the red light along the exit from the off ramp, in which case I turned my sirens off and then back on to kind of re-indicate I'm trying to stop this vehicle.
Okay.
I used my PA speaker to get on it and tell the vehicle to pull over or to stop. Once the light turned green, the vehicle just continued to drive and it went westbound.
Do you remember exactly what you said over the PA speaker?
Not exactly, but it was along the lines of pull over.
Okay. And so did you continue following the vehicle?
I did. At this point, I realized that the vehicle more than likely was not going to stop for me. So once we were westbound on Lake Lansing, I turned my lights and sirens off. So that way, this area is more congested with traffic. So that way I'm not confusing any traffic trying to come through or causing any accidents. I just stayed behind the vehicle.
Okay. So how did the vehicle eventually pull over then?
We were traveling westbound down Lake Lansing. And I was calling this out on the radio, so that way others in my jurisdiction knew. And I was also receiving some updates from dispatch, such as that East Lansing might have been looking for this vehicle. Anyways, from what westbound down Lake Lansing, once we got up to Larch Street, it just pulled into the gas station at that corner.
Okay. And then what happened next?
That was 2100 North Larch, I believe. It's a mobile gas station attached to a quality there. It just pulled up to a pump. And so now that the vehicle was actually stopping, I pulled in behind the vehicle and I reactivated my overhead lights in order to reinitiate a stop. The vehicle stayed stopped at this moment. I got out and started initiating a higher stop because of the fact that the vehicle was not stopping for me, and some of the information I received from dispatch while traveling to this point, and some of my partners, was that the vehicle was possibly being looked for by East Lansing because they recognized the plate and the vehicle description that I had given. And that might have been involved in an assault for
Okay, so are you still,
Again, keep in mind the guy on the witness stand is a Lansing police officer, and almost nothing that he says is true, which means he's consciously trying to railroad Mr. Felipe here,
you're still in Lansing?
which he would do the same thing to you. He'd do the same thing to your mom and dad, your grandma, your grandpa. He's just a garbage human being, knowingly lying about them, lying on them, lying on the stand after he swore that he would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks for being here, Doctor. Thanks for being here, Swamp Lover. Jenny Cottingham, thanks for being here. Rancho, Charles, appreciate you guys being here.
Lansing then,
Yes.
Ingham County?
Yes.
Perfect. Did you ever have contact with the driver?
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
At that point, I conducted a high-risk stop, meaning I got on my vehicle rather than approaching because of the circumstances. I stayed at my vehicle. I had drawn my gun, not pointed at the vehicle, but just held it at a low ready position and started giving verbal announcements to the driver to exit the vehicle.
I highly doubt that, unless there's body cam video to prove what he said, I highly doubt that he stood at his vehicle with his gun in the low ready position, not pointed at the vehicle he just pulled over for a pretextual cause. This same cop's going to say that he's never heard of a pretextual stop and he's never heard of a fishing expedition. What's up, Raised?
I did so with my PA system to make sure it was loud enough for the driver to hear, which it was working at the time. I gave repeated commands for the driver to exit the vehicle, and he did not. Eventually, I had more officers show up to assist me. Once there were 3 or 4 police cars there, in addition, then the driver ultimately stepped out of the vehicle and followed my commands back to my vehicle, which was placed in custody by myself and my partner.
Okay, can you tell me, do you know approximately how much time passed from when you first ordered the driver to get out of the vehicle and when the driver did get out of the vehicle?
It'd be hard to say the exact amount of time, but it was more than, like, I'd say a time frame 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. That's good, thank you. And then at that point, the driver was put under arrest?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, Your Honor. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
This is supposed to be identifying this witness.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I apologize for that.
I love that this judge is completely staying on the prosecutor like white on rice. Whoa, Jay Lobo gifted 10 Here's the Deal memberships. If you are a recipient of his kindness, make sure you give a shout out to Jay Lobo. Thank you for that, Jay.
So you placed him under arrest. Can you, would you be able to identify the defendant if you saw him here today?
Yes, I could.
Can you point to him and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
You see her right there, wearing white shirt, black tie now.
Thank you so much. No further questions now.
Who is the person you're identifying?
I love this. Oh my God, this prosecutor is horrible.
Because she referred to him as a defendant. What's his name?
So Sotelo,
Are you asking her? You're answering my question? Do you know his name?
Yes.
What's his name?
Sotelo.
Sotelo last name?
Sotelo.
Oh, cross-examination.
You've been an officer for how long?
Was hired by the city of Lansing for the academy in August 2023, and then I started with road patrol in December of 2023. So that puts me at a year and some months.
So you were trained at the academy?
Yes.
You know the importance of note taking?
Yes.
Of course, you know the details matter.
Yes.
So you try to.
I love the short and sweet questions this defense attorney asked this cop because he completely pins him to the wall. It's almost like this defense attorney is constructing a fly paper on the wall and just sticking this cop to it.
Be as accurate as possible.
Yes.
When you first noticed that white SUV that got your attention, you traveling in the same direction as it?
I was.
You said it was a white SUV with an all-white plate?
Yes.
This is Michigan, no blue letters, no blue numbers.
Not that I could see from that point.
The only thing that caught your attention is that you thought it had no plate.
At the time that got my attention, yes.
Wow.
Did you initiate your lights and siren at that time?
Not at that time.
In fact, you had to speed up just to try to confirm your suspicion, right?
Yes.
You had to speed up. You had to speed for a pretextual stop, which means you were breaking your own speed limit for something that somebody was doing that wasn't against the law.
So it wasn't immediately in front of you.
It was some distance in front of me, but
You testified that your training and experience, people make right turns to evade the police or evade your detection, something like that, you said?
yes.
So had he made a left turn, it wouldn't have been.
Man, we have got some generous people in the chat room tonight. Now, Eddie, and guys, I will call out all your super chats, everybody who gifted anybody. I will call all this out at the end of the live stream as well. But while we're doing the live stream, I'm just humbled by the fact that so many very generous people are here. Eddie just gifted 5 Here's the Deal memberships. If you're a recipient of that, thanks to Eddie.
Suspicious?
Not necessarily.
You know what a pretextual stop is?
Okay, let me back this up because it's hard to detect some of the lies because it's hard to determine that what he said was a lie until he's actually questioned with a point blank question. But listen to what he says about a pretextual stop, the knowledge of a pretextual stop, and the knowledge of a fishing expedition.
Suspicious?
Not necessarily.
You know what a pretextual stop is?
No, sir.
No, sir, you don't know. You're a cop, and you've been a cop for how long? And you don't know what a pretextual stop is? You liar.
Never heard that?
I have not heard that term.
Heard the term fishing expedition?
I have not, sir.
I've not heard of fishing. Or do you have access to YouTube? Have you ever been on the internet? What is up with this cop?
But you'd agree with
Sorry, guys, I don't believe that. I don't believe he's never heard of at least fishing expedition and pretextual stop.
me that a turn alone isn't illegal, right?
No.
You'd also agree with me that people make turns for all sorts of reasons,
Absolutely.
including heading home,
Absolutely.
running errands. So you assume criminal intent based on only a turn.
I did not assume that.
You continue to follow.
As I was still trying to catch up, sir.
And at that point, you still hadn't activated your overhead lights or your siren.
No, sir.
Wow, that right there says everything. Well, Your Honor, he wouldn't pull over for me. Did you have your license sirens on? No. How far did you follow him? According to the prosecutor's questioning, 4 to 5 miles. But the whole time your lights and sirens weren't on, so the guy didn't even know you were following him. How would he know to pull over then? What's up, John Eagle? The History Bear's here. Jeremy's here. Thomas, Robert, Sancha.
Once that SUV made the additional right turn, it was so far ahead of you, you still couldn't see the plates.
Correct.
And you eventually, in your report, say you lost complete sight of that SUV, right?
I did.
That was around the time it was getting onto the highway.
Correct.
And I think in your direct testimony, you stated 2 vehicles stopped at light, which told you that the white SUV had to go around.
Correct.
That was an assumption, right?
Close.
You didn't see it.
I did not see it.
Wow, but he stated it as though it were a fact. The way he crafted it on the witness stand in front of the judge, in front of Felipe, it's as though he saw it with his own eyes. And now we find out through questioning that he actually didn't see it at all. He suspected that this might have happened. Let's OTVO drops $20. You're appreciated, OTVO. I appreciate that.
And you activated your emergency lights as you were getting onto 496 off of Pennsylvania.
Before the intersection.
That ramp goes uphill.
Correct.
And because of the incline, your view of the SUV and your view of the SUV was obstructed, right?
Correct.
So at the moment you turned on your lights, it's possible that that SUV couldn't see you because of that incline, correct?
Correct.
Well, you didn't say that in your original testimony. You're just basically like, he knew I was behind him and he didn't pull over. But wait a second. You couldn't see him. Is it possible? Is it reasonable that he possibly couldn't see you? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Judge. I left that out.
Once you crested the highway, you can see that SUV.
These guys are playing with other people's lives, guys. This is what gets under my skin. This is why I do these videos, and they don't care. This is why I call them psychopaths. They have no ability to apply any kind of human compassion or emotional reasoning. And when I say emotional reason, I mean like, you know, putting yourself, empathy, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. Man, I would not want to be economically terrorized like this. I wouldn't want to be lied about. I wouldn't want to be drugged in front of a judge and in a court and have my time wasted. So then why would you do it to others? Well, you wouldn't unless you're sociopathic or psychopathic.
TV again.
Oops.
Good.
It was far ahead of you.
It was.
Traffic speeds at least 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
You don't know if the driver ever looked in his rear view, do you?
I don't.
You don't have any video, body cam, anything showing him looking back at you?
No.
So to be clear, he never made.
So there's no evidence to support one single word that you have to say, and we are left to just believe what this cop has to say. And if this cop is lying, if Felipe did the exact opposite of what the cop said, then Felipe could be charged a large sum for being guilty when in fact he is innocent.
Any evasive movements, right? He just continued in his direction of travel.
Correct.
And at some point in your reports, you indicate that you had to go over 100 miles an hour just to catch up.
Yes.
Holy Shiite, man. Come on.
And when you caught up, that was at the exit ramp on 127 for Lake Lansing Road.
I caught up prior to that, sir.
And that would be reflected in your dash cam, then, right?
Correct.
When did you catch up?
After merging onto 127 northbound. That's right around Kalamazoo, Michigan area on 127 northbound.
And you're positive.
Yeah.
Fleeing and eluding requires that the driver willfully disobey your signal, right?
Oh my gosh, that is the comment of the night right there. John Eagle, what's a fishing expedition? I don't know. What's Pennsylvania versus Mims? Talks for hours. Oh, I know what Pennsylvania versus Mims is because it's all about law enforcement officer safety. How about Terry v. Ohio? Oh man, could expound for hours on that as well. Good one, John Eagle.
Correct.
I have no statements from Mr. Sotelo saying that he admitted to playing on you.
Correct.
Grave 57 says, I just had a similar situation where I was charged with assaulting a police officer because I was yelling at him during a traffic stop. The prosecution is dropping that charge, but keeping the resistance. Man, I want to hear more about that, Grave. I'm sorry that happened to you. This is why, guys, knowledge is power. And when you increase in knowledge and you increase in power, you're not as easy to steamroll over. You become a major obstacle in the roadway of tyranny. And that's what education is about.
No evidence that he saw your sirens, saw your lights, heard your sirens.
Sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
Yes.
And you admit on this record that you didn't, you turned on that lights at some point, turned them off, turned them back on. I think at one point you were on Lake Lansing, turned them off, not to confuse other drivers.
Correct.
Lights on, off, off, on. Could have been confusing to Mr. Sotelo, right?
Lights on, off, on. You didn't want to confuse other drivers, but that could have been real confusing to the guy you're trying to victimize.
Objection, Your Honor. That's speculative. There's no way for the officer to know
What?
Yeah, if it's possible. If he could make the assertion that he could turn it off so that he didn't confuse other drivers.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You previously testified that you turned your lights off and your siren, not to confuse other drivers. You've also indicated that you turned your lights on and your siren off and on several times during this infraction.
I would disagree because it wasn't only
Was it
because
yes or no?
several things. No,
You say you could disagree because what?
it wasn't several times. I personally don't see how it would be confusing.
Okay. Do you know how many times you turn your lights on and off?
I turned them off coming down the on-ramp and then back on when we hit the red light at the end of the on-ramp and then back off after he still did not stop after.
That would be several. What the hell are you talking about? Somebody just reminded me in the chat room that if you're tuning in on your mobile device, it's going to feed you the vertical. And if you're tuning in on a PC, it's going to be horizontal. Now, if it's the opposite and you actually want to see it in the horizontal or vertical, there's two live streams running at once. So if you want to go to the main channel home screen or the live video play screen, you can choose which one appears on your phone or on your PC, just in case that was confusing for anybody.
Turning the on-ramp onto like.
So the cop said it wasn't several, but then when pressed about it by the judge, he basically said it was several. I turned them on, then I turned them off, and then I turned them on. Well, that's several. 3 times fits several.
So you turned them off twice
I turned them off twice.
and on 3 times.
Testified previously about this
Oh my God. But it wasn't several, Judge.
driver stop. Indicated you had your weapon. You're ready. Not directly at an individual, just sort of below the line of sight.
Correct.
And you also testified that there were other officers involved, right?
Correct.
And because this was a high-risk stop, other officers had their guns drawn, right?
Correct.
Not all of them had them at a low ready, isn't that right?
Yeah, thank you, Jill. This is Officer Derek Selden from the Lansing, Michigan Police Department, taking the witness stand, swearing that he's going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and just lying through his teeth so he can hem up this guy named Felipe.
I cannot answer that.
Have you reviewed any body cam or dash cam from that incident?
I reviewed my body cam dash cam from the incident and wrote the report.
And you said the elapsed time from the time he was ordered out was about 2 to 3 minutes.
That's a rough estimate from my memory.
So if your body cam or dash cam showed that it was around a minute, would that be more accurate?
It would be.
Now, you gave some commands to Mr. Sotelo, right?
I did.
And it's normal for people to be nervous when they have guns pointed in their direction.
Sure. Yeah.
Lots of officers involved, everyone has guns, things can go awry. You agree with that as well?
I agree that people can.
I have personally never had a gun pointed. Well, yes, I have. Once in my life, I had one gun pointed in my face, and I can tell you when that happens, in my opinion, from my experience, you don't act very rationally. Your blood pressure, or at least mine did, goes through the roof unless you don't have a pulse. Put a 1 in the room if you've ever had it. Now, and this wasn't by an officer, it was by somebody else, but for me. So put a 1 in the room if you've ever had an officer or officers point a gun in your face. And another thing, I've never been tased. Have you ever been? We'll do the tasing in a separate. Put a 1 in the room. Whoa, really? South Bama Gump has had a gun pointed in his face. VA says I've been shot at twice by cops. Rancho says he has. Randall, what's the matter, you? Dub Wubs. Holy cow, guys. That is way more. Tennessee transparency. What does 1111 mean? Does that mean a lot of times? Swamp Lover says no. Joe Saff says yes. Cheese. Pross. Tarnished Viking to make sure. Mike, oh, look at the ones. I didn't expect there to be like 2 or 3 ones in the room. Founding Fathers News. Is that Carolina and Fort Worth Founding Fathers News? Amendment Maverick? Holy cow, we got to revisit this. This is crazy. I want to hear these stories.
Be nervous.
So there's things you'd like to see for officer safety, is that right?
Yes,
So you gave some verbal commands,
correct.
voice extremely loud. You're on your PA system, right?
Correct.
You gave commands in rapid succession.
Guys, when I see that kind of stuff, Warren says I had my house surrounded. See, I got to hear these stories. I've got to hear these stories. We got to bring these things forth. We're a community of people who care about other people, and that's why we do these videos. We got to expose these cops. We got to bring some kind of change. People got to stop dying. They got to stop being locked up. That's what this is all about. Empowering people through knowledge so that we can have the wisdom to deal with what's going on today. That's insane.
Isn't that right?
I'm not sure what you mean by rapid succession.
You gave lots of commands. Step out of the car, put your keys out.
Yes,
Sorry, let me just roll this back about a minute. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about all you guys with guns pointed in your faces. Oh man, let me see. Let's just go back here. Okay, right there. I just went back about 45 seconds.
Voice extremely loud. You're on your PA system, right?
Correct.
You gave commands in rapid succession. Isn't that right?
I'm not sure what you mean by rapid succession.
You gave lots of commands. Step out of the car, put your keys out, put your
Yes.
hands up, walk backwards really fast, right?
Yeah,
You agree that someone being shouted at, may feel overwhelmed,
yeah,
especially when you got guns pointed in your direction, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, he got out of the car.
he did.
He followed every command. He walked backwards to your car with his hands up.
He did.
You successfully cuffed him without him snatching away from you.
Correct.
He didn't throw any punches.
No.
Didn't push.
No.
Didn't kick.
No.
He didn't try to run away.
No.
You weren't injured.
Now remember, all these questions have in mind one of the charges is one count of assaulting, resisting, or obstructing a police officer. So far, every single question was answered in the negative.
No weapons.
No.
Based on my understanding of your report revealing body cam, when you got back to the station, you made a phone call to a person that was in the vehicle with Mr. Sotelo. Is that right?
Yes,
And one of the things you wanted to know was how fast that vehicle was traveling. Is that right?
Right.
Because you didn't know for yourself how fast it was traveling. No further questions.
No redirect to this witness, Your Honor.
Give me this witness, please, excuse.
Yes, Your Honor.
Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now this is where stuff really starts to get heated up because thankfully, and it could have easily gone the other way on this. Thankfully, the judge was on her A game and was questioning the prosecution and revealing the contradictions in this cop's testimony. And away we go.
So people would like to call Khalil Anderson, I believe is the last name. Let me double check that. And Anton Swan. Khalil Anton Swan. Your Honor, I apologize, Your Honor. That would be our only witness. So people would be ready to move forward to argument.
What's the defense calling witnesses today?
Today, Felipe Sotelo is being charged with fleeing and eluding in the 4th degree and resisting and obstructing officers. Today, we have testimony from one witness, and that's Officer Selden.
He's actually not just charged with resisting and obstructing. He's charged with one count of assaulting, resisting, or obstructing. And based on the cross-examination by the defense attorney, by Felipe's defense attorney, that just wasn't even so based on the testimony of the officer who claims that he assaulted, resisted, and obstructed.
Officer Selden did testify that he was performing a traffic stop against the defendant in Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County on the date of March 23rd, 2025. He testified that at first he wasn't certain that there was a plate on the vehicle, but then upon getting closer to the vehicle, did observe the vehicle run a red light as well. To prove fleeing and eluding, the first element is that a police officer was in uniform and was performing his lawful duties. Officer Selden did testify that he was in his police officer uniform and was conducting a traffic stop. He also was in a marked police car. The second element is that the defendant was driving a motor vehicle. Officer Selden's testimony also showed that the defendant was driving a motor vehicle at that time. He did, after a bit of confusion, did eventually identify the driver as the defendant here. The officer ordered the defendant to stop the vehicle. That's the third element. The lights were on. I do believe that the officer also testified.
Look how look how cool Felipe's attorney is. He's like, man, I can't wait till she shut up so I can tear this biatch up.
That the defendant crossed multiple lanes of traffic to evade him, as well as reached high speeds.
Cross multiple lanes of traffic to evade him.
Did not. I believe the officer testified as well that this took 4 to 5 miles of following him with his lights on. That was all on the highway before the lights were ever shut off and then turned back on. Fourth is that the defendant knew of the order. It's standard procedure that if an officer has his lights and sirens on behind you, that you would pull over. Additionally,
Was the officer ever behind him? So it didn't sound like the officer was behind him.
the officer
This is where the judge starts jumping in and interrupting the prosecutor as she's going over this summary of what she thinks happened, and it's glorious.
did catch up to him and was behind him, according to his testimony.
Well, my understanding is that he didn't catch up to him for some time.
Yes,
Silence.
but did catch up to him on the highway.
His testimony on the cross was that the driver never made any invasive movements, just continued to travel.
Thank God the judge was taking notes. Thank God.
Also, he did testify that after the lights were turned on, that the defendant did accelerate as well as cross multiple lanes of traffic.
It's not illegal to accelerate and cross multiple lanes.
Guys, I can't help it, but the prosecuting attorney is trying to put the screws to a man who is freaking innocent, and she's trying to defend the testimony of a lying law enforcer. I just love this. I love that this judge is actually seeing things clearly for the way they are, because it doesn't happen like this a lot.
Travel. He was asked on cross-examination, did the defendant ever make any evasive movements on the highway? He said no. He just continued in his travel. He was never redirected to tell me anything else.
I understand, Your Honor. Would you like me to continue, or?
You can continue.
Okay.
Yeah, you can continue, but the court would really appreciate it if you told the truth, or at least you stayed consistent with the testimony of the guy you called to the witness stand. Officer right here, thanks for the super chat. Every time a cop takes the stand, the narrative instantly collapses. Yeah, and really it's the important part of that is when the narrative collapses, that it's recognized by the person who's going to make the final decision, which is the judge or the jury. And a lot of times the jury pool gets tainted in favor of the thin blue line. A lot of times you see the judge is just going to basically protect the corruption racket, the corruption ring they've got going, because if it wasn't for law enforcers, they wouldn't be able to generate the revenue. The court system wouldn't be able to generate the revenue that they're generating. So, basically the judge, if this judge doesn't have, and I'm not talking about this judge, but any judge doesn't have their mind set on, hey, I'm just going to call balls and strikes. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to ferret out the truth. I'm going to ask the questions that need to be asked. And if this person is innocent, we're going to let them go home. We don't want any innocent people going to jail. We don't want any innocent person being drugged through the injustice system.
And then fifth would be that the defendant refused to obey the order by trying to flee or avoid being caught. This continued even after the highway. The lights were turned off and then turned back on, and still the defendant refused to pull over for the officer. The officer Selden also testified that after they had gotten off the highway, he had announced on the PA that he needed the vehicle to stop. The vehicle continued to accelerate through the green light. forward ahead of Officer Selden, and this all happens after they get off the freeway.
Yeah, that's a good point right there, Wanda. Video doesn't matter if the courts won't allow it into evidence. And a lot of times we see that it's not allowed into evidence. Like we see, I don't know if you guys know, but the trial for that kid, what was his name? Galanakis. Remember Galanakis? I blew triple zeros. Apparently they had hearing number 1 yesterday and hearing number 2 today. And as part of the evidence that they wanted to bring into court, it was the reports of Officer, what was it? It was Newton Police. It was Officer Nathan Winters. They didn't even want to bring the officer's report into evidence because the officer's report was so bad. So you could have, I mean, it's good to do video. It's good to have video. And I don't know why, what would another reason be for a judge to not introduce video evidence into the courtroom so that everybody could see exactly what happened without taking anybody's words for it? I can only think of one thing. Starts with a C. It's corruption. They're not interested in the truth. Stan says, Arnon Milchan smuggling nuclear triggers through his production company and former Israeli ambassador Dan Shapiro helped him get a shiny, clean passport when it was well known what he was doing.
And additionally, the defendant is charged with resisting the police officer. The first element that we need to show probable cause of is that the defendant did obstruct or oppose who was a police officer. And
Let me stop you here, because maybe I'm confused. I thought that the questions to the officer was that there was a question posed on cross as to whether or not the defendant got out the car and followed every command.
Amen.
And he said yes.
Amen.
a minute after.
A minute after what?
He first gave the commands. My understanding of the testimony was that the officer gave the commands for the defendant to get out of the vehicle. Then the defendant refused to get out of the vehicle until other officers arrived at the scene. And then the defendant got out of the vehicle. That was my understanding of the testimony.
That was not my understanding. That's what redirectors do.
Understood.
Okay.
And there is some discrepancies about how long it was, between 1 to 3 minutes of the officer ordering the defendant to get out of the vehicle and the defendant refusing to do so. The defendant does eventually get out of the vehicle after 1 to 3 minutes pass in time. Second is that the defendant knew or had reason to know that the police officer was performing their duties at the time. The officer did testify that he was in a marked police car and in his uniform. And third is that the defendant, or that the officer gave the defendant a lawful command and was making a lawful arrest or was otherwise performing a lawful act.
Can we just take a second to appreciate how horrible the prosecutor is? She ain't going to win many cases here. She's about as dumb as a box of Frankenberry cereal.
It was a traffic stop, and the command was for the defendant to get out of the car, which he did not respond to until a minute to 3 minutes.
I truly am losing brain cells as I sit here and listen to this.
Passed in time until other officers arrived on the scene. And so the people would ask that you bind both of these charges over to circuit court.
The people, don't you hate that too? So the prosecution is going to speak on the behalf of the people. Well, I'm one of the people, and I don't want Felipe railroaded. How about you? It's such a lie. It's such an illusion. Like Bastiat said, the state is that great fiction by which everyone seeks to live at the expense of everyone else.
Thank you.
We'd object to the bind over, Judge. At best, on this record, we heard that this was a pretextual stop. The only indication of any criminal activity that the officer has alleged was that Mr. Sotelo made a series of right turns.
Love
He
it.
even further indicated that the alleged speeding that he claimed was the basis for a stop. He never even observed it, didn't know how fast the car was traveling, that he called an occupant of Mr. Sotelo's vehicle to try to ascertain the speed. The law doesn't work like that. You can't.
Yeah, good catch. it wasn't 1 to 3 minute video. The officer agreed it was 1 minute, and even the prosecutor couldn't be on board with that. And as for that right there, watching court cases will make you stupid. I don't know. I've watched some court cases that really make you think, and you learn a lot about psychology. You know, people can really put on the game face. They can really come with some real thick deception and lies and half truths. You kind of learn about human nature and what people are actually willing to do to violate, basically go against video proof. And that's another thing. Listen, keep this in mind. Cops are so psychopathic, sociopathic, whatever you want to call it. They are so far gone mentally, spiritually, emotionally, morally, that they are willing to lie, knowing that what they actually did has been captured on camera from multiple angles. And yet they still go through with it. They really believe, I think in their hearts, a lot of them, that you'll believe them over what your eyes see on the video. And that's very scary.
Work backwards to manufacture a probable cause, Judge. You've heard the testimony, I think more importantly, on the resisting, obstructing, and assault. He told you that officers was on the scene. It was a high-risk stop. They had their guns. At least this officer had his guns in the low ready. That Mr. Sotelo complied with all the instructions. May have taken them 1 minute, but the law allows a reasonable amount of time, especially given the gravity of those circumstances with guns being involved.
I would say so too. I would say with all the adrenaline flowing, you can't think clearly. You're kind of in a panic situation. They've lit you up. You can barely see, but you can make out figures with guns pointed at you. I don't know how the situation could be more stressful. Eric, Cyber Sniper, thank you for that.
On that basis, Judge, we'd object to the
Argument.
Okay, here we go.
And for the people, Your Honor.
Nothing for the people, Your Honor.
This is a plea and alluding on the 4th degree, and then there is a police officer assault, resisting, obstructing, charges of habitual offender, second offense notice. Burden is on the prosecution to establish probable cause that a felony was committed, and then probable cause to charge you, Mrs. Sotelo, with the felony. This is not a trial. They don't need to prove each element of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. We had testimony today from Officer Derek Selden, who testified that on or about March 23rd, 2025, he was working road patrol when he observed a white vehicle and attempted a traffic stop. To this point, it's still unclear to me, why are we doing a traffic stop? I don't have anything on this record that lets me know that there was a lawful reason for a traffic stop in the first place. The officer testified that he didn't know, that he couldn't tell if it had a plate on the vehicle because the vehicle was white, and then there was some sort of glare that prevented him from seeing whether or not there was a light.
You know, that's a good point. The judge brought out a good point there. I didn't get the feeling either way of whether this was at nighttime or in the daytime. Does anybody know if this took place at night or in the day? I kind of imagined in my own mind that it's at night, but I can't tell you why I think that.
I don't know what time of day this was because that was never established. I don't know if it was sunny outside because that was not established. That would have been the burden of the prosecution. But there was some glare from some place that prevented the officer from being able to actually see if there was a plate on an SUV, a white SUV, to which at some point he did get close enough to see that there was a plate. But based on a series of right turns, the officer decided.
Does anybody in the chat live in the state of Michigan? And if so, what color is the license plate? Because I've pulled up a couple of samples of license plates. I see a like a navy license plate with yellow lettering. I see a white license plate with blue lettering. It looks like, and it says at the very top, pure Michigan. It looks like today's license plates are white license plates with blue lettering, but I'm not sure which rendition is popular and out on the road right now. They change this kind of thing all the time.
Sides.
They are blue and yellow. Somebody said blue and yellow. Somebody said blue and white. Somebody said white and blue. Is it a white license plate with blue lettering? Because I'm kind of getting the feeling that Felipe's license plate was white with blue lettering?
That there's some criminal activity. And so he continues to follow this defendant. Prosecution has made the argument that the defendant ran a light, but that's not what the testimony of the officer says. He said that he assumes that a light was ran.
Exactly. Based on assumption.
The officer has dash cam, body cam, or should have those things. And he supposedly is following this person because this person has made multiple right turns. I don't know how many right turns have been made, but nonetheless, he's made some right turns. But the officer does not see or somehow misses whether or not this vehicle actually, in fact, ran a red light.
Exactly. Doesn't know any of this stuff, which brings me back to my original point. Almost nothing that the cop said on the stand was the truth. And this judge, you know, whether you like judges or not, it seems like she's trying to be impartial and she's trying to parse out fact from fiction. But the cop had absolutely nothing to go on. Eddie says another recent court case where a cop lied about a cyclist in March 2026, where the cyclist rode on the road because of obstacles in the bike lane. I just watched that court case yesterday. It's like an hour and 50 something minutes. The judge was good here. Look up cyclist challenges the cop and wins the case. I was actually thinking about doing a live stream on that. If you guys want me to do a live stream on that, put a 1 in the room. I just felt like it was just a little bit too lengthy to do a live stream on, and parts of it were boring. I'd have to put it in my editing software and cut out all the just the dead space and the nonsense.
And so then the officer gets on the expressway. It was established on the cross-examination that there is some incline or hill as you enter onto the expressway. Which
the cop didn't even mention, and it wouldn't have even come out if the defense attorney wasn't on his A game and cross-examining this guy thoroughly and properly.
And so it's possible based on the officer's response.
So look, guys, a cop doesn't even have to lie on the stand. He just doesn't have to give you all the truth. Well, I lit him up and he didn't pull over. But when you lit him up, you forgot to mention that there was a hill between you and him. You couldn't see him. He couldn't see you. So lighting him up when he can't see you is irrelevant. And what's with this? Oh, he was trying to evade me. Oh, turning right and then right again is trying to evade you. What if that was his direction home? What if he was an Uber driver making a delivery? Just so many assumptions on the cop's part.
Response that he could not, the driver of the SUV would not be able to see.
There you go.
The officer activating his lights as he entered onto the expressway. And then by the time he had actually entered on the expressway, his testimony was that the defendant's vehicle would have been some distance ahead of him. He did testify, officer did testify that he did not, I think the question was whether or not he activated his light several times. He said he did not activate it several times, but then when I asked him, it was several times. He turned them on 3 times.
Oh God, I just want to give this judge a hug and say, you are doing such a good job here. You're doing such a good job keeping Felipe out of jail or keeping fine money from flying out of his pocket. Remember when the officer said that it wasn't several times, but when he was plied with questions by the judge, it ended up being several times. He couldn't even tell the truth about that. I'll tell you what, this officer, and we were talking about Derek Selden of the Lansing Police Department, he needs to be examined. Every arrest he has ever made needs to be brought into question. And anybody who's ever been ticketed needs to be reimbursed. If there's somebody sitting in jail because of Derek Selden from the Lansing Police Department, they need to be freed. Selden needs to be investigated. He needs to be fired for this. This is a fireable offense, in my opinion, because if you're going to put somebody's right and their life in suspended animation, which that's what's happening to Felipe right here. His rights are in suspended animation. He's not free from this hearing right here. He has to be here. Rather than be at work, rather than be with his family, rather than do what he wants to do in his pursuit of life, he is sitting here on a bench in a courtroom because of the lies of a Lansing, Michigan Police Department officer.
Turned him off twice.
I don't think that this was a strong case for the.
Yeah, Brady list material at least, but man, there shouldn't even be a Brady list. If you can't even trust your own employee, why are you employing them? But yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Prosecution to begin with, but I also don't believe that the way the facts have been presented amounts to sufficient probable cause. And I agree that this was a pretextual stop from the beginning. There's nothing on this record to even give the officer probable cause to make the stop in the first, a reason.
Amen. Eric Patterson, my email address is contact@highimpactflix.com. If you forget that, it's in the description under, I'm pretty sure it's in description under email. Let me see. Oh, no, it's not in this description. It's in the description of my regular long form videos. Contact@highimpactflix.com.
To make the stop in the first place. You can make as many right turns as you want. You can make right turns.
Yeah, what would be, yeah, exactly, Mike. Exactly, Mike. Lying on the stand for us is 3 years. Why don't they get at least a year? Why don't they get 3 years? Is lying on the stand really 3 years? I haven't looked it up. This is, again, you got the prosecutor with prosecutorial immunity, you got the judge with judicial immunity, and you've got a cop with qualified immunity, and they can do the things that you can't do. Tell me they don't think that they're above you.
Because you don't want to be around the officers for whatever reason. That's not illegal. They have to actually have a reason to stop you, and it can't be because you had a right turn and we thought maybe you didn't have a license plate, but now we see that you did have a license plate.
Exactly.
There's insufficient evidence as to count one, police officer fleeing, alluding to a probable cause standard, so that's dismissed. Count two, a police officer assault, resisting, obstructing is also dismissed. I think this is a pretextual stop. I don't think the officer had a reasonable grounds to make a stop in the first place. So both counts are dismissed for lack of probable cause.
Amen. Amen. The judge finally made this judge made the right decision. This judge made the right decision. That's Judge Kristen Simmons in the Ingham County District Court. The defense attorney was Dwayne Boyd, acting as Felipe's defense attorney. And he completely eviscerated the prosecuting attorney and Officer Derek Selden from the Lansing Police Department. The thing that I hate about this is that 1 second of Felipe's life was wasted during this thing. Didn't have to be like that. Now, let me ask you guys this. I'm going to go over the super chats real quick and give some shout outs here. But let me ask you, are you guys interested at all in doing a real quick call in? What I want to kind of talk about is all these people who disturbingly said that they've had law enforcement guns pointed in their face. Is there anybody willing to step forward and tell their story on that? If so, put a 1 in the room. Last time I opened it up to a chat and a live discussion and a live call in, really not many people called in. But I'd like to keep it honed in on that, is if you've had a police officer firearm pointed in your face for whatever reason, I want to hear what your story is. So if you want me to go over that, put a 1 in the room, and I'll look back in the chat here after I give some shout outs for the memberships and the super chats. So Joseph bought, people in the room, 5 Here's the Deal memberships. By the way, if you guys want to help the channel, one of the best ways you can do it is to like this video, share this video, and comment under the video. And the next best way is to, become a member, or if you want to support monetarily and you don't want the exorbitant 30% fee that YouTube takes out, or 40% or whatever it is, I've got the buy me a coffee and all those other links in the description. You don't have to do that, but if you do want to help. Jay Lobo says, he gifted 10 Here's the Deal memberships. So big shout out to Joseph for the memberships. Jay Lobo. Eddie bought 5 Here's the Deal memberships for some lucky people in the room. And Let's OVTO dropped a super chat, and which I've already read. And Grave 57 dropped a super chat. So did Officer Right Here. I didn't really mull this one over, Stan, because it kind of doesn't have anything to do with the scope of this particular live stream. And I like to keep, context with context. So, maybe that's something I can look at. I'm not familiar with Arnon Miklin or this Israeli ambassador, Dan Shapiro. And I've never trusted Mike Huckabee. He might as well be called Huckster B, because that's what he is to me, just another political huckster as the ambassador over there in Israel. And Cyber Sniper, shout out to you. And Eddie, once again, shout out to you. So let me go back to the chat, see if anybody's put any ones in the room. If you guys want to do a call in, if you've ever had a personal experience and you want to talk about the fact that you've had a law enforcement gun stuck in your face, I'll read that here in a second. Let me go ahead and give the StreamYard link so you guys can call in. What time is it? 6:40 Central Standard Time. Okay, I'm going to drop this right here. Here's the call-in link. If you guys want to talk about your personal experience of having a law enforcement gun in your face and why, what were the circumstances surrounding that? PEEGS, are you saying Pegasus work for Epstein class? They prowl and hunt us, watch us, roadside shakedowns, invasion of our lives and rights. No sleazier career that I can think of. Me either, man. Me either. Going in for a stint tomorrow, Fred. I hope that works out for you, man. God, I just hate Western medicine. That's why I do all that I can do to stay out of there, man. I just want to be healthy so I don't end up in a hospital. The local hospital near me is known for 405ing people. Let's just put it that way. People are scared to go. They would rather take their chances not going than to get. I probably shouldn't say this. No, I'm not going to. I mean, it wouldn't affect you unless you lived in my small town. You probably have horror stories about your doctor's offices as well. Let me see if I can pull up what's going on with let's see, the trial of Taven Galanakis while we're waiting for people to come on board. All right, where's all these people who wanted to call in? Come on here. Come on, you're making me look bad here. Hospitals are where people go to die. I'm there with you, Face. I am there with you. I've seen too many people. Okay, I'll give you one story. A guy that I used to work with, when he fell from a deer stand and he broke his leg, and they got him to the hospital in time. By the time he came to, they had already taken his leg off. And according to another health professional within that area right here, let's say I'll keep it general, they didn't have to take this guy's leg off. And that sucks, man. I also know somebody else directly. I'm talking about, I worked with these people. And this other person I know personally, his dad went in for just a routine checkup, was in the hospital 2 days, dead. And I have story after story from this one hospital. That's why I live in this small place called Tahlequah. And most of the people, if they have to be hospitalized, they'd rather just take that 55-minute drive to Tulsa or Fayetteville or wherever, anywhere but here. Hey, what's up, Grave? And I have story after story from this one hospital. Grave, you got to turn your audio down because I'm getting my voice back at me.
Sorry. Hang on. Okay, so I'm live right now.
Yeah, tell me about your story. You've had government guns pointed in your face?
Yes, I did. Hey, also, I just wanted to start out by saying I have a bunch of stories that I wanted to send you, and I had lost your email. So now that I just got your email, that it was put up on there, I wanted to send you, and they're good. It's like police stories that I think you need to see. But so what happened? The most recently one was I had just come out of a psych ward, and my dad had confiscated all my guns, and he was keeping them at his house. And I had an argument with my dad, and I was talking to him on the phone, and I told him that that I might be stopping by, and that was pretty much the gist of the argument. And I picked up my dog out of the kennel, that he had been staying there while I was in this psych ward. And when I went and I drove past my dad's house and I was
Can I just ask you a real quick question? Were you in the psych ward for an unjust reason?
Yeah, it's a whole story. I threatened to commit suicide because I couldn't get a FOIA request that shows a woman in the DMV like straight up push. I mean, she is shoving me. This woman in the DMV shoves me and I get charged with assaulting her. And so it had been like 3 or 4 years in this thing. Like I have warrants. I had to flee Texas for warrants and stuff. And the cop pulled the gun on me in Pennsylvania. And so I was trying to get this FOIA request and I threatened to commit suicide because I just like
on that just by the way, on that S word, can you use like the number 405 or something? Because YouTube hates that word on a live stream. Matter of fact, they probably already demonetized it from that word.
I'm so sorry. If I cuss, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to.
No, I don't care about cussing. It's just that word right there in certain contexts gets the web crawlers are all over that.
Yes. Yeah. I apologize for that.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So I come out of the psych ward. I'm pulling up. My dad lives up on top of a hill, and there's a cop waiting at the bottom of the hill. And so as I pull in, I don't try to ram the cop. I don't do anything like that. He's in his lane, facing down. So like he starts to turn left to kind of cut me off going up the hill. And as I'm trying to kind of pull up and I'm pulling off of the road, he basically like he pulls almost all the way in front of me. And he let me basically know that if I tried to keep up going up, he was going to T-bone me. And then he gets out of his car and he gets almost entirely in front of my car, which I haven't driven forward or anything. Once I knew that he was stopping me, I stopped. And he pulls a gun and is just pointing the gun at me. And my dog, which is right here, is just sitting in the passenger seat. And I start screaming at the guy. I start screaming that, all this stuff. But I don't know what my dad said to them, but he was going completely off of hearsay. He was going completely off of someone reported something. And another cop, like his sergeant, comes down the hill and gets like kind of control of the situation. He pulls me over into his squad car and I just talked to the guy and I told him the reason why I showed up. And he was like, look, the best thing to do is hire a lawyer about your guns. Like, don't, just go right now. Don't worry about it. While we're sitting there talking, I look over at the first cop that had the gun pointed at me and he's in like the Groucho position. Like he's got a gun pointed at my dog in the car. Like my dog is not doing anything. He's just kind of sitting there looking at and the guy is circling my truck and trying to find out if I have a gun or not. And I didn't have a gun because my dad had taken all my guns, but I wouldn't tell them because it's like, that's not up to you. You're supposed to be defending my right to have the Second Amendment. Unless I've committed a crime, you should not be pointing guns at me trying to find out if I have guns.
So you're saying they pulled you over initially because of some testimony that your dad said about you, and they're basically there to answer a call?
Yeah, they were kind of like posted up around his neighborhood.
But you don't know what your dad, do you know today what your dad told him to make them react like that?
No, I'm afraid to ask, but the second cop, he was like, look, if you knew what he said, and then he told me, he's like, as soon as he said it, I knew that like it was an exaggeration because it's a small town.
Wait a second.
Had already...
So did the second cop tell you what the call was?
No, but he said that he said, if you knew what your dad said. So it was something like, I'm showing up with a gun and I'm mowing down cops, like every cop in my way, I'm going to mow them down or something.
Well, I mean, honestly, I can see why they would respond like that if they got that kind of call. And that's called swatting. So basically your dad used the police department to attempt to murder you. And this is the bottom line with that.
I don't disagree with that, but it's all, one, it's hearsay. And two, when that cop, like my body language, my hands were up. I was like, hey, yeah. I'm just here and then he's like pulling out the gun and just, it's like,
How long ago did this happen?
This was November of 2024. So it's about
have you FOIA requested the 911 call that your dad called to pass through the police department?
No, like I said,
Or
like
the
I'm,
body cams or anything? I'd be like to try to clear your name, if nothing else.
yeah, well, I wasn't charged with anything, so that is.
I'm just talking about charge or not. Were they wearing body cams? Did they have dash cams?
Yeah,
There's got to be a record of the 911 call. Aren't you curious? If that happened, I'm not saying, all I'm saying is if that happened to me, I would turn over every stone to find out what the heck happened, just for the sake of knowing the truth.
like I said, this started because I had, like I was already trying to get a FOIA request. So it's like, I don't have much faith in that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I wish I could just get all that stuff. I wish it was really easy to get a hold of all that stuff.
You still can. No, all you have to do is know the date, the CAD number, and you can get that stuff. The police department that issued the call, the dispatcher that took the call, you can get it. But hey, man, I'm going to move on to the next one. I appreciate you letting me know your story. Yeah, did you say you were going to email me?
Yeah, I have a long list of things to email you.
All right. Well, I'm glad you lived through the experience, man. Take care.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yes.
All right. Hey, Mississippi, you're up. How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
Are you really in Mississippi?
No, so I actually live in Albuquerque, but I'm from Mississippi.
Oh, Albuquerque. Those are the guys who destroyed James Boyd out there in the desert, trying to live homeless all by himself, leaving people alone.
They like to do that out here. I mean, I've been out here for 2 years. I grew up here, went to high school out here, went to Highland High School. And man, I've seen some things, I tell you what.
I've stayed in Albuquerque quite a few times, heading to California and back. So what's your story?
All right, so I'm going to make it quick. My landlord called the cops saying I had guns on me and that I crashed into a vehicle parked at our residency. I didn't do any of this. It was all hearsay, like the other guy was saying. So I couldn't park anywhere. I had to drive away because the guy was parked in my parking space. The cops meet me as I'm driving away. They say, "Oh, you're fleeing the scene of a crime." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything." And they're like, "Well, you have a gun. Get out of your vehicle." They tell me this all over police thing. They're like, "Hey, get out of your vehicle."
Over the intercom?
Yeah. So they're like, "Hey, get out of your vehicle." I'm not listening to them. I'm like, "I can't hear you."
And this is the Albuquerque Police Department, correct?
Yeah, it's APD.
Okay.
They get really pissed off at me and they're like, "Yeah, I said get out of your vehicle." And they start yelling at me and they get out of their vehicle and they're like, "Get out of your vehicle and face away from us." And I'm like, "All right, I do that," because I'm listening to them now. I'm not listening to an intercom. And so I get out. They all point guns at me and they tell me to turn around and then they say, "And we'll shoot." Like they physically tell me to turn around and then they say, "Oh, and we'll shoot you," basically.
That's not stressful, huh?
Oh, it was very stressful because I was like in the middle of turning around in my head. Like I was going to give him a few seconds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm turning around because that's what he told me to do. And then he says, "And we'll shoot." And I'm like, holy shit. Like,
Yes, that's the kind of stuff where when a Brandon soften him up, Tel Aviv Tatum says, "All you got to do is comply." I'm thinking, yeah, well, Daniel Shaver complied, Philando Castile complied, you complied, and they said, "Well, even if you comply, we're going to shoot you." It's like, I totally get why people run. I know why people on motorcycles go 175 miles per hour to elude the police. It's like, hey, it's catch-22 here. You know what I mean?
it gets worse. I got the body camera footage back. It's
Oh, good.
someone else's body camera footage. It's someone else's arrest.
So you FOIA requested your body cam footage that lines up and corresponds with your CAD number and the date that the incident happened to you, but they gave you something else?
Yes. So they gave me someone else's footage, and then there's me in the back of a police car. So all of that was just gone.
Really?
Yes.
Did you
yeah.
question them about giving you the appropriate body cam footage?
Oh yeah. I asked them everything, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna close this request, and we're no longer gonna value your time." And they've done it twice now.
Really?
Hmm?
And so what were you charged with?
Nothing. They held
Oh,
me in jail for 3 days because it was all hearsay. There was no damage on my vehicle, and yeah, they held me in jail for 4 days.
They held you in jail for 4 days with no charges?
They pepper sprayed me in jail because I was hitting my head up against the wall because they had me up in the hole up in MDC. So I was hitting my head up against the cell, the concrete.
Yeah,
And
when you say in the hole, you were talking about you were in solitary confinement?
yeah. So they opened up the food wicket and they sprayed me with 2 cans of pepper spray. And then they said I stole the pepper spray, retreated into the cell, and ate it.
And this is in Albuquerque.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you have this stuff on record?
I do actually. I was able to look it up. And for a while it was on AI for some reason. Like the whole thing was like if you asked my name, it was all on AI.
Mhm.
So I have screenshots of that.
Have you gotten a civil rights attorney involved in this?
I haven't. I've called one. He told me I was lying because it gets worse. After the 4 days, they took me to UNM, the hospital, but they took me into the primary care, just the walk-in clinic, which it was 9 o'clock at night, and they're closed. So the officer said, "Good luck, you're screwed. Walk home," and he left.
And that was after 4 days in a cell.
It was, yes, sir.
This is wild, man. You gotta reach out to me, email me, and just give me some details about what we just talked about.
Oh, absolutely. How do I email you, man? I'm all for it.
It's not under this video, but my email address, I'll give it to you, contact@highimpactflix.com. That's FLIX. But if you forget it, go to my channel and go to videos, and my long form videos have my email address under every video.
I can do that. Cool. Thank you so
All right.
much, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
You as well.
All right. Bye. Hey, Heather, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So what is your story?
Well, I was trying to make sure to try to prep before I started talking because it's really over involved and it goes on for years. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fast forward to the event.
Yeah, just give us a really quick summary.
But definitely the part where they refused to give us the full police cam footage. They chopped that all up.
Now let's start from the beginning. What police department are we talking about? What state? What police department?
Monroe, Michigan.
And that's the Monroe Police Department?
Right.
Okay.
So I'll go to the part of the story, but after all the mess, our first things were they didn't have a warrant and we want the police body cam as evidence immediately. And these charges need to be dropped because the neighbor had been working with the police and just kept sending the police to our property. It's really stupid. And we couldn't get any help. Nobody would obviously listen to us. Like I said, this has been going on for years. So they let this guy, this last neighbor, the last 3 or 4 years, he's gone now. He moved. He's not here, but I'm still in courts over this. So he calls the police, says that I was violating this PPO that the courts let them get through on me. And I let him because I wasn't getting any help, right? And I need this guy to leave us alone because he's threatening us. They've been on our property. They broke our well water flow. They've done all these heinous crimes against us. They followed us. They've done just really bad stuff. And this is what the police do.
Do you have all that like on security footage?
I have some of the incidences where he was directly threatening me and the cruelty and the stalking. And we also have enough of the police footage of the violence, but they deleted out the dry rape over the hood of my car in my driveway that night of the arrest on November 9th when they said I violated a PPO, but I did not. So the police came, they started having more police come. This took hours. My husband went out. We had talked to him earlier that week. We said, you don't have a warrant. You have no proof of us harassing this man. We're standing our ground. So whatever you're going to do, but if you don't have a warrant, I'm not going with you. So that night I finally broke down because they were bringing more police. I'm like, John, they're going to come in the house. I can feel it. This is getting insane. So I go out with my hands up. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is on the back of my property, by the way. They have all this set up where it's not even in the view of many people. Our house is behind this guy's house. So these people, the cop had to flood. He went from the neighbor's house, jumped on our property through a fence link that was open. They opened up the link fence so this cop could jump onto the back of my property. He nailed me on the top of hood with my hands behind my back, dry raped me, continued to tase me. My husband comes out. He's like, stop killing my wife. They had me on the ground over 20 seconds or more, tasing me more. I pissed myself, went unconscious. They dragged me to the cop car. The neighbor says he's going to kill my husband. This is all on body cam. So when we finally get the body cam information 3 months later, after they're raking us through the coals, they're refusing me a trial. And they're saying that I'm incompetent and that I can't stand trial. But nobody has verified this. There's no doctor present. We're like, where's the body cam that's in full? Now you've given us tampered body cam footage. We've called the state. We've called the state police. And so that means that they all covered who covered the police footage? They won't release it in full footage a year and a half later. So that's really the story. I was horribly assaulted. They continued to abuse me in the jail. It didn't stop. They continued to do it in the jail. They contaminated my food with shit or something. They were zapping me.
When did this happen?
They were zapping me with something. Within a room, they kept putting me in another room, like another confined, by yourself.
Yeah.
And they put me in another room.
Solitary confinement.
And I know none of this sounds hard to believe. But one room, they had white powder coming out of a pipe. And you would get covered in this powder and you'd start going hallucinations. And
what?
And then they stuck me in another room.
Wait.
No, I am not kidding. I'm not.
No. I just need you to slow down.
Sorry.
I'm not saying I don't believe you. I just never.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that there's a pipe in your prison cell that's blowing out white powder, and when you breathe this stuff, you start hallucinating.
Right. They had drugged me too. They forced a drug on me. It's bad.
Like injectable,
sir, this is bad.
or
this is
oral?
So bad. It's human torture.
Injectable, oral, what?
Oral, or they forced me an oral. I said the only thing I'm going to take is a vitamin, and it'll be verified. But you keep forcing this red syrup. It was a red syrup. I don't know why I did it. I was 3 days sober in there. Like they didn't drug me or none. I'm in there. I'm sitting and I'm seeing all this operation. I'm seeing other girls come in and get drugged and videoed, and they're ripping their clothes off. I'm seeing trans.
This is okay. Just wait a second. This is Monroe, Michigan.
Yes, this is.
And
Monroe,
what is the detention or correctional facility we're talking about here specifically?
The Monroe County Jail.
Monroe County Jail. You were put in there by the Monroe County Police Department, or is it the Sheriff's Department?
It was the local Monroe County Police. It would have been the sheriff. Yeah. Probably, yeah. Oh, yeah. The sheriff here. We had everyone here for years, just coming here, just bugging me.
Monroe County Detention Facility. All right. Go ahead. And white powder coming out of the pipe in solitary confinement. And how long were you in there?
That room, I'm losing recollection. I know I was in the county there for 2 weeks, and they did a different solitary on me every day. And the first 3 days, like I said, I got to interact with other people in the drunk tank and stuff, the holding cell before they process. And I got some great stories. I mean, but they were scaring me. The girls were scaring me. I mean, they're telling me things that I didn't think were humanly possible, like this inhumane treatment, and none of them think they have any rights. They're being manhandled. They're being dry raped. They're being raped. They're being assaulted.
Can you tell me the exact name of that detention facility? Because Monroe County, Michigan Corrections Facility is not coming up.
So it would be Monroe County, Michigan.
Detention
jail.
center, or
it's on 2nd Street.
Is it called the
inmate
dormitory facility?
It's right. It's the men and the women. It's connected to the courthouse there on 2nd Street, Monroe, Michigan.
There it is. 2nd Street, number 1, Monroe, Michigan, 48161.
Yes, it's terrifying.
Okay.
I'm not going to say all of it here. So.
Wow, this is crazy. This is so. What's your name's Heather?
I'm Heather.
This is crazy, Heather. And
my screen name is Fire Up Your Hearts for Truth.
Okay,
but my real name is Heather.
Tell me again what date this happened.
November 9th, 2024. It was after dusk. And they have still refused. They have still refused the original police footage to this day.
And how long were you in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office jail?
2 weeks. And then they stuck me at the mental ward as incompetent.
And what was
But
your
I had
charge?
physical wounds. You could see the physical wounds on me from the jail, from the
Did you-
officer.
Did you take a picture of those?
I forced them to do it in booking, but they wouldn't take any more photos, and I kept flashing the wounds to the cameras when I was coherent enough to do so. I would flash the wounds on my side. He did mostly here. I had 2 large wounds. Now they're gone, but they were quite large. It was from the tase. He had it directly on me steadily. If I hadn't been about 50 pounds more overweight, then I would have died. I would have surely died by what he did. So
Have you been in contact with any other people who've had this similar treatment in Monroe County?
when they stuck me in the psych ward last summer too, on top of the first punishment, I got 43 days because I was demanding a trial. So they stuck me in the state psych ward. I got over 40 testimonies of other people of police violence, assault, and women being handled like a rape, like over their table in their kitchen or whatever. Wayne County, Michigan was a big one that popped up with the girls at the hospital that seemed quite violent, the ones I was receiving from the state facility.
And your
But at the
husband
county-
didn't go to jail, right?
No, and he's a witness, and they've never once asked him a question. They've refused all of his requests when he was asking for new judges and new attorneys.
Was
They
he able to
refused all of
contact
his
you?
requests.
Was he able to contact you when you were in there?
No, they wouldn't let him. They shut my phones down and shut his ability to get to me or get a proper help or hospitalized.
Did he even know where you were?
He did, but he was afraid they killed me because they weren't letting him through. So he lost 2 weeks of work that week when they put me, because he saw they almost killed me here in front of him in the driveway and then dragged me down the driveway. So he had to watch all that. And then he's threatened by the neighbor that they're going to kill him anyways after they had me in the cop car. And the cops just cut it out of the thing, showing the neighbor saying he's going to kill us. Do you know that the man that did this to me in court last 2025, so spring of 2025, one of the court hearings, they made me go on Zoom. They wouldn't let me in the courtroom. And this guy lied under oath. And then he said he was going to shoot me through the fence.
Who said
This
that?
was during court proceedings. He said he was going to shoot me through the fence, and they didn't do nothing.
Who's he? Who are we talking about?
The man that did this PPO, the neighbor next door with the police, he set this up with the police. He was
Right.
in the courtroom and he said he was going to shoot me through the fence in spring of 2025 court.
Okay, look on the screen. Is this the place they jailed you?
Yeah, that's it. The girls are upstairs. Well, the girls are upstairs on the one wing. Yeah, going on the east wing there. You're going
And
towards
you
that east side of it.
refresh my memory. You were in there for how long again?
2 weeks and more or less a holding cell, isolated. They would switch my room because I got a little loud sometimes. I was loud. What do you think? I'm going to be a muffin over this? Give me a break. This has been going on for years in my life with police harassment since I was young. They know what they're dealing with, and they've tried to blackmail. They've tried to frame me so many times it's a joke. And this is the worst they've done, though, trying to kill me multiple times in multiple years, this last several years.
Well, listen, I got to
question. I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish someone would investigate this place. It's been going on too long.
So you've tried to be your own. Let me just summarize this. You've tried to be your own advocate, and you've tried to get the body cam footage, but they won't release it to you. Have you already been to court?
We have some of the video cam. We have enough that you can see some of the violence, and where it's cut out, you'll see where it's definitely cut out because there's a rock still on it.
Who took this video? Who took the footage?
This is the body cam of the police. So unfortunately, we don't have our own of the whole incident, which was our ear, because we didn't know he was going to try to kill me that night in the driveway with the tase. We were going out to find a warrant. He fled at me violently, and it just ensued. Now they've dropped the violent charges on me finally. But they did force me they gave me a noise disturbance, which I'm going to fight. They gave me a disturbing the peace. While I'm being assaulted, I'm not going to be screaming. Is that the disturbing the peace? These sick fucks. So, excuse my language. I know you don't want
that's
bad language on here. I'm sorry, but you got to go. But I hope you have contact with me, or we could get you that footage. It's on my husband's station.
Contact
bit
at
deeper.
highimpactflix.com. Just, I mean, I'm not making any promises and I'll try to take a look
Right.
at it, but man, I am sorry that happened to you. And unfortunately, you're representative of a lot of people who are getting abused by the system.
It's very scary. So,
Okay.
thank you for letting me share.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh my gosh. I just when I hear that kind of stuff, I just think, what the heck? First of all, how could you be a police officer feeding people? Basically, you're a human trafficker and you're feeding people into a system that literally makes money off of people suffering. Now, I'm not saying that some people don't need to be locked away. If you're a murderer or a thief or a rapist, or you're committing these horrible crimes, if you do bad things to kids, what does it say? What did that just say? It said, okay. It said officer right here in the studio. Um, and like there are real crimes that happen and real criminals that need to be separated from society because they just don't play nice, basically. But I hear too many times people who got framed, the cops are operating on here's the call, here's the deal, and we got a call, and you lose your rights when you hear that. We got a call means you don't have rights because I'm conducting an investigation. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Officer right here, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Good.
So, I got a story from 2023. I was pulled over on a felony stop for running from the police in my car.
Were you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can you got to turn your volume down because I can hear my voice in the background.
Okay. Let me see.
Why were you fleeing from cops?
Well, they were on the side of the road, and I had a hopped up Mustang, and I just decided to pass them.
Mhm.
And unfortunately for me, their stop was over, and they just jumped in their car and chased me. So,
So you sped past them while they were on a different stop
yeah, I got the report right here.
at a high rate of speed. Like, were you speeding?
Captured the vehicle traveling at 108. I radioed dispatch and cleared my traffic stop and reported the vehicle I was trying to catch back up to. Yeah, I was cooking, man.
Oh, so you really were going 108 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's what they had radared me at.
Okay.
So they chased me out of town, got pulled over, and on the felony stop, they draw their firearm and all that. And so that I got drive stunned. I don't know if you know the difference between a taser and a drive stun.
Yeah. The probes
Okay.
just don't go in you. Yeah.
So I got drive stunned twice, once in the pec and then once in the arm.
Mhm.
And that hurts, man. I wouldn't suggest it.
Okay. So wait a second. Okay. So let me just kind of get a clear picture of this. Okay. I'm kind of slow.
Sure.
So the cops had somebody else pulled over on the side of the road.
Correct.
You have a souped up Mustang. You sped by them. They radared you at 108 miles an hour. They pursued you. You kept running from them. You didn't immediately slow down, right?
No, I don't know if I had a panic attack or what, but eventually I just pulled over. I had a
How far-
passenger with me also.
How far did you go before you pulled over?
About 2 miles
Okay.
out of their jurisdiction.
All right. You got a passenger in the car. What state is this?
Oklahoma.
Okay. Were they troopers?
No, it was a small town municipality.
Okay.
And
did they follow you out of their jurisdiction into somebody else's jurisdiction, or did somebody else pick you up?
They did. So I've read their pursuit policy, and it states that if the infraction happens in their town, they can pursue out of their town, assuming that it doesn't endanger somebody or it's the same town where the cop lied about being hit by the car and those 2 girls got killed.
Yeah.
That's the town that I'm talking about.
Okay, so you fled for 2 miles. You pulled over. When they pulled you over, I can still hear myself in the background. Is the volume turned down?
There you go.
So you pull over, and then how many vehicles are behind you? How many cops are behind you?
2 at the time.
And then what happened when you were stopped? Did they automatically pull their guns on you?
Oh yeah, yeah. They came up behind me, pulled their guns, and they came to the driver's side and tried to extract me like through the windshield
Okay.
or through the driver's side window, and they
Okay.
couldn't get me out. So one guy grabs my arm, and the other one drive stuns me in the chest.
hmm
And I tried to grab his taser, and then he drive stunned me in the arm. And yeah, dude, that hurts, man. I mean,
I imagine.
it'll put you into. I mean, I thought I got tased, like the way they shoved it in my chest and just hit it.
Mhm.
It didn't feel good, and I'm glad I didn't get shot. In all reality, with how trigger happy and all they care about is officer safety, I probably could have got shot. I don't know, but being drive stunned, man, it sucked.
I imagine.
It was painful. So yeah, I mean, I don't have. I guess my stories aren't as crazy as the last 2, but
It's kind of crazy that you did that knowing what the repercussions are, in my opinion.
well,
They want
I
that.
got arrested and
You
charged
got
with
to
a
you got to
DUI
know
and
you-
felony eluding.
right, but you
and-
got to know you're in a souped up Mustang. You're going at a high rate of speed. They live for that. They want to chase you. They want
yeah.
the adrenaline rush. They want the power surge, and they want to get somebody. And you basically gave it to them on a silver platter, man.
Well, I still have the car, so
There you go. Well, I bet it was a pretty penny getting that thing out of impound, though.
yeah,
Probably
man, it
over
was
$1,000
small town
bucks or
cops.
what?
Say again.
Over $1,000 bucks.
I think when I got out of jail 5 days later, it was like $1,200.
Yeah.
It was bad, and I fought that case. I mean, I got it all expunged and dismissed, but it took until late 2025 to get that done, and this was 8/4/2023 right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a long report, dude.
Yeah, Oklahoma. I don't know anything about other troopers except Oklahoma troopers because I live in Oklahoma, and I know this wasn't troopers, but Oklahoma cops, probably small town cops in general, are looking for something to break up the monotony, And when you see that car right there going at a high rate of speed, you just fulfilled a Christmas wish. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so later, actually, I ran into that guy I mean, we live in the same town. There's like 3,000 people in this town. And I ran into that guy years later, 2 years later at a gas station. And he works for he's a deputy somewhere, Pawnee County now. And I was pumping gas in my truck and he pulled up and I walked towards him. And the first words out of his mouth was, "Let's get this over with." I was like, "Dude, I'm not trying to fight you or shoot you or whatever." Like, he had his hand, just, that's how they think, man, is like every interaction with somebody is just, they're always ready to just lay the hammer down on someone.
It's please resist me. Please give me an excuse to bring my dog out. Please give me an excuse to pull my gun on you. That's what it is. That's their mentality.
I mean, first words out of his mouth, "All right, let's get it over with." I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I messed up. I paid dearly for it. It cost me a lot of money and a lot of time.
Oh, I bet, man.
And
I bet.
It was dumb, but he's out there. I beat all the charges, and he's like, I don't care. That's a you problem. And
Yeah.
I had a run in with him before, and I've had interactions with the Manford police now, and those guys, I've gone through the FOIA request stuff. I've been lied to by the city attorney, the acting chief here in Manford. I mean, they're typical police, man. I mean, that's how I can explain it. So
yeah, well, $1,200 to get your car out was definitely robbery, and I'm sure it cost you way more money above and beyond that. Hey, man, I appreciate you weighing in. Thanks for coming aboard.
yeah, check it out, guys.
All right, see you later.
See you.
Oh man, This is crazy. That Michigan thing disturbs me. The thing that went down with Heather. I don't know what the white powder is. I've never heard of that. You know, I've heard of medicating in the jail system. I've heard of the bend over and cough, which in my opinion isn't a body cavity search. It's actually SA. It's S assault is exactly what it is. What are my thoughts on Merb? I haven't watched him enough to see if he's fair or not, but I really do believe that he, just like a lot of people who are indoctrinated in the 15,000 hour indoctrination program, don't really understand what law enforcement is, or they would never say, you can't say that there are all good cops. You can't say that there are all bad cops. And I think, I mean, you let me know if you think I broke it down well on the last video that I did on Merb. When there is no profession like the law enforcement profession where you actually swear to hurt people. It's different terminology. It's euphemistic, but when you boil it all down and you get to the bottom of what state laws are, because they swear to protect the Constitution of the United States against all foreign enemies, you know, foreign and domestic, but they also protect the laws of the state, most of which are unconstitutional, and let's just be honest, immoral, unethical. You know, you want to talk about unprofessional, I don't care. It's immoral. Enacting a drug war law, it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. You are waging a war on people who, in their minds, their pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness is to do that or to do that. And, you know, while I'm not advocating for any of that, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want to do. Drink all the toxin. I personally believe alcohol is toxin. You're putting a toxin. You're knowingly putting a toxin in your body. Personally, if I do that right there, I become unproductive. I don't want to be unproductive, but you can be unproductive if you want to be. Personally, I think that's a bad idea because it wears away the lining. It gets you addicted. Being an addict is not a good thing when you get out of control and you become dependent on a substance. Not a good thing. But if that's your idea of pursuing life, liberty, and happiness, nobody should interfere with that. And anybody who does interfere with that is not just violating the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. They're violating somebody else's will to live the way they want to live. Nobody's got a higher claim over your life and property than you. And I think if Merb understood that, then he could contextualize what law enforcement actually is. Apart from all other fry cook at McDonald's, you know, French fry cook at McDonald's does not swear to harm customers in the name of protecting them. A plumber, an electrician, a framer, an auto mechanic, a hairdresser, none of them signs on the dotted line to harm their clients in the name of protecting them. Here, I'm going to give you an excellent hairdo. I'm going to do your nails. I'm going to fix your engine. And while I'm at it, I'm going to point a gun at you and I'm going to shake you down for your protection and your safety, because the people who are my bosses say that that's what I should do. And I'm not just a regular mechanic. I just follow orders. I didn't write the mechanics laws. You know, part of that is shaking you down. Part of that is holding you hostage and locking you in the back of the car until I'm done with your alternator. That's what they do. They say, well, I didn't write the policy. I got to cuff you. Even though what you did, this infraction that you did, didn't harm anybody. It didn't threaten anybody. It didn't put anybody else's life on the chopping block. It didn't steal property. You didn't damage property and not pay for it. You weren't a menace to society. But policy says, I got to put the torture cuffs on you. And indeed, they are torture cuffs. They're not comfort cuffs. As a matter of fact, they'll even say it. They weren't designed for comfort. Okay, so what are you saying, officer? They were designed for discomfort. What's another word for extreme discomfort that could literally cause you permanent nerve damage? Well, I would call that torture. Therefore, torture cuffs. They promise to obey policies because they're written, because they're order followers. And the most dangerous person in the world is an order follower. A fry cook at McDonald's is not an order follower. The guy who made your steak at Red Lobster or Texas Roadhouse is not just, you know, he's following your order, but he's not following the order of a third party who said, hey, when you serve this steak up right here, you got to pour this pan of boiling water on them because that's just what our policy says. What if they did that? What if somebody just followed a policy that just hurt you? And then they get immunity for it. It's like, well, the law says we can hurt you. The law says that we can just zap the hell out of you over here at Texas Roadhouse if you don't tip the appropriate amount. I'm just doing what my store policy says. There's no difference between that and what a cop says. Well, my policy says I can use my taser. My policy says I can sick my dog. My policy says my canine can scratch your brand new BMW. My policy says that I can suspend your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person. There is no other, name one other profession like the law enforcement profession where they swear that they will harm you in the name of protecting you. And that's what it is. That's what the drug war is about, harming you. The prohibition, alcohol prohibition, was about harming you and penalizing you for no reason other than the politician said you can't drink alcohol now, you can't buy it, you can't sell it, you can't transport it. Name one other profession. So I don't think Merb and other people like him, you know, we call them bootlickers, we call them thin blue line gang member lovers, we call them leather munchers because they don't seem to understand that you cannot say that you're a moral person and do immoral things because the policy said to do them, because the politician said this is the way it has to be. Why am I putting handcuffs on a person who just ran over his neighbor's mailbox and refused to give me ID? That doesn't make any sense. Why am I literally torturing them and kidnapping them and fining them and fingerprinting them and body cavity searching them and throwing them into an RAPE cage because they wouldn't give me an ID because I didn't like, and the bank didn't like, the fact that they were recording on a public sidewalk in concert with the First Amendment right to freedom of press? It makes no sense. It's literally psychopathic. So when Merb says there can be good cops, I just believe that they're not considering what they're saying. And if they have considered what they've said, and they have taken into consideration the facts of what law enforcement actually is and what they promise to do in the name of policies and codes and regulations and ordinances and laws, then I don't think they're acting in good faith by making arguments that say, no, there are good cops, just like in every profession. There are good doctors and there are bad doctors. There are good lawyers and there are bad lawyers. There are good cops and there are bad cops. And oh, incidentally, the bad cops, very small percentage of bad cops. Most of them are good apples and just a few of them are bad apples, giving all the good apples a bad name. Remember, for 15 months, holy cow, Jennifer, nobody should tell me what I can put into my own body. I totally agree. Totally agree. Does anybody disagree with what I just said? Is Merb a bootlicker? I should probably stop calling people a bootlicker because it really doesn't do any good. It's inflammatory. Yeah, it generates clicks and views. It's controversial. I don't know. I go back and forth in my mind with that. It's like, am I acting in good faith if I'm saying that? But then aren't I really just kind of telling the truth? Like, if you know that the law enforcement profession is swearing to harm you in the name of law. And what does 18 USC 241 and 242 say? 18 USC 241 is conspiracy against rights. It says if one or two people gather together to conspire against anybody's unalienable rights, ... they shall be fined or punished or both, and may be subject to being 405. And what does 242 say? Deprivation of rights under color of law. If anybody under the color of any law, ordinance, regulation, statute, in any territory, provision, anywhere, if they conspire and if they deprive anybody of any unalienable right, that includes the right to keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed, which they're doing all the time in the state of New York, in California, and other states. If there's one law in your state that's antithetical to the Second Amendment, it's automatically unconstitutional. It's a violation of the Bill of Rights. It's a violation of unalienable rights. And if you're a guy who's just going to obey that anti-Second Amendment law, then you're violating your oath. And you have to violate your oath because you took a contradictory oath. You swore to protect Let's just take the Second Amendment. You swore to protect the right to keep and bear arms, and then on the state level, you swore to trample the right to keep and bear arms. So you've taken this hypocritical oath, not the Hippocratic oath of doing no harm. You've taken the hypocritical oath of, I'm going to go ahead and do harm in the name of the law because they told me to do this. That's why I see order followers is far more dangerous than the order givers, because the order givers, they can write laws all day long. They can write the most heinous laws. Make sure when this guy goes to the grocery store, next time he buys 2 pounds of ground beef, you grab him, put torture cuffs on him, you kidnap him, you throw him into a cage. Oh, well, my policy says I can do that. Obviously, I've got legal covering. I've got legal justification. I've got qualified immunity. You're going down, buddy, because they told me to make you go down. You got to be a psycho, man. You could be real disconnected from life to do that. So I would like, Brian is a bootlicker. Who said that? I mean, I am open to any kind of correction. I could be totally lying to myself and believing I'm for freedom. Somebody comes forward and says, dude, you are freaking wrong about this. The first response should not be to be defensive. It should be in loyalty to the truth. Hey, I'm going to always, I'm going to leave that door cracked open so that if anybody, has any evidence that I'm running afoul of or contrary to the truth, we'll crack it open a little bit more, and we got to examine the old heart. What is that thing that I can't remember who said it, but none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they're free. Well, nobody's more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they are on the side of truth when they absolutely are not, and they refuse to be corrected. So yeah, if I've said anything about being, but I also with the caveat, open-minded, yes, Susan, but open-minded with the caveat of not so open-minded that your brain and your heart fall out, But if I've said anything that lends the to me being a bootlicker, boy, I'm definitely open about that. I definitely don't want to do that. Can't agree with you, Brian, about what? What do we disagree? If anybody disagrees with what I just said, hey, I got a little bit of time right now. So there's the link right there. If you disagree what I said about order followers and what law enforcement actually is and how MERB actually believes, let me know. Again, I can't really speak a lot to what MERB says or what he believes or thinks or feels or propagates, because I haven't really seen enough of his content to formulate that kind of opinion. I do know that I do know what he said about cops that I disagreed with the other day. Maybe he could have misspoke. I don't know. Oh, Susan's actually a dude. Is that like the man named Sue? Man, if my mom and dad, like, it's a blessing and a curse, right? If your mom, I was talking to the mail lady the other day. We were joking about, like conflating female names with males. And it's like, man, if my name was that, I would have had a tough life, but I would have become a more tough individual, because you have to. If your name is Sue, if your name is Susan, you are going to get picked on. And if you get picked on, you're going to grow a thick skin or you're going to die. That's the bottom line. Brian is the goat of goats. I would not say that. Thanks, though, Snake. I appreciate the sentiment. Yay, cops need to get a real job. Cops who have violated their oath, cops who have locked somebody up, hemmed somebody up, cost somebody money, economically terrorized them, they should really go to jail. They should really go to jail. That's where you and I would go if we stalked somebody, if we harassed somebody, if we stole their money on the roadside and we were the armed pirates who made that robbery happen. They definitely need to go to jail. If somebody said they disagreed with me and I put the link is in there. If you guys disagree with me, I want to hear the disagreement, because if I'm wrong about something, I want to know if I'm wrong. So looks like You Have Rights is here. You Have Rights. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Brian.
How's it going?
Thank you for Thank you for having me up here. It's pretty cool to see that you're taking people's stories live. I I've been wanting to tell you my story since 2022, and basically I've been needing help since 2022. I I kind of lost faith. I've continued liking like both you and Chili, even though we've had a falling out. Not that I don't like you, I just am feeling like I kind of need to. I want to be able to trust you because this is why I wanted to talk to you. But I really want to tell you my story about what's going on. But I wanted to talk to you also about why I was never picked up, like why you never picked my story up. You seemed interested back in 2022, and then just like never talked to me about it again. And I'm feeling hella left out. Like I'm feeling left behind. I'm feeling like the American people are actively letting my rights be violated, our rights be violated, and allowing Nye County, Nevada to do what they're doing to me actively right now. And
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to defend myself, but the reality is I'm just a one-man show. This isn't a production crew. I don't have, I know you and I have talked before and you've sent me stuff, and a lot of things have fallen through the cracks, and I can't help it because I cannot deal with them all. That's why I don't make people. Did I make you a promise?
No, you didn't make me a promise.
Yeah, that's why I don't make promises, because it's so overwhelming. And I tell you,
exactly,
I lose sleep at night thinking that people are thinking what you just conveyed that you think. So, and again, I want just tell us your story. Can you kind of keep it? Can you encapsulate it and
yeah, it's very hard to encapsulate it because it's like 22 since October 25th, 2022 is when I was originally unlawfully arrested. But
I cannot remember the situation of the scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. I'm going to mute my mic and you just tell us what's going on.
I was being harassed by a public works employee for Nye County, Nevada. And he kept, well, to begin with, I was diagnosed with mental illness in third grade, but mental illness doesn't mean that you're dumb or stupid or retarded or anything like that. You know, I have cognitive disorders and stuff like this. But well, anyways, this local public works guy, he thinks he knows me or whatever, you know, and he kept on telling me things about my home and my life. I tried to read him a thing. They put in a skate park in town, and they got supposedly $27,000 for the put in the skate park, and it ended up consisting of a couple like metal prefab ramps. It was bull crap. They basically embezzled the money and put in a little bit of crap on the old tennis court concrete that was already chipped up. So basically they put in a useless skate park for $27,000 supposedly. So I started protesting about it. I started confronting the guy who was in charge of putting the skate park together. Well, years and years go by. In 2011, Kelly Thomas was beaten to death on camera by those police officers, and we were all talking about it on Facebook. And then Ademo Freeman made Cop Block, and I was talking with people like James Freeman and Ademo Freeman and others, Tom Zebra and other guys that was on Cop Block back then on Facebook. This was before auditing or cop watching on YouTube became as popular as it is today. Well, I started recording the police or the local deputies in like 2012, but in 2015 is when I started recording this public works employee that was harassing me he'd tell me things like, did you get your mother to read that for you? And stuff like this, because he was hinting to, he told me that he didn't think I was very intelligent, and that, he thought that, basically trying to tell me he thinks that I can't read and this and that. But
If
he
it
was
makes
harking.
if it makes you feel any better, people say that to me all the time.
He was hearkening to the fact that I have diagnosed with mental illness. Well, the thing about it is that this has a big part to play with what's going on with me, because I put in several complaints. I complained that they were holding a course of conduct with a like a person with mental illness, is how the state statute reads, right?
Mhm.
So instead of helping a person with mental illness against harassment, they basically turned it around on me and charged me with any charge that contained the words course of conduct. And but when it all came out, okay, so 2015, I catch him on video. He's standing outside of my house pushing a broom, blah blah blah. He starts calling me a bottom feeding Obama lover, and I don't even like Obama. And he starts telling me that I'm not bright, and that he doesn't think that I'm very bright, and all this shit. And well, anyways, I caught this all on video, 2015, and then back then I was in a thing where this local deputy was stalking me, and they tried to tell me I was stalking the deputy, even though I don't like going. Back then, like nowadays, I'll go record the cops, and I'm okay with going towards them. But back then, I didn't really want to go near any cops. I am a targeted individual.
Let me stop you real quick, because I need you to stay on task with the story, because I mean, people start tuning out. Honestly, when it gets too long, I start tuning out. But let me just
that's why I don't want. That's exactly why I don't like to tell my story, because I've told my story like numerous times, and many of the people listening probably heard it.
Hold on 1 second. It sounds like you let this guy get under your skin. Did you?
No, he's not under my skin at all. He's a public service employee who's not supposed to do the things that he was doing.
No,
and if it was you that would call me anything, so if you told me I couldn't read, it wouldn't be a problem, Brian. You wouldn't even be
hold on
under my skin.
Hold on. At no point did this guy get under your skin? It wasn't a big deal to you?
What it is the stalking, the harassment, and the official oppression. It's not necessarily, he's not under my skin necessarily. He's a public service employee and using his position.
And he was stalking, harassing, and oppressing you?
Yes.
And you've documented this?
Intimidation. Yeah, I've got years of, I started, my first video that I got of him outside my home was in 2015. And then when he first threatened to stuff my camera up my ass was 2021, December. And I got my first complaint, written complaint, in January 7th, 2022. Because it was like the end of December when he complained, when he told me he was going to stuff my camera up my ass.
And you got docked for what he said to you? Or did you?
No, what happened was I started complaining about him threatening to stuff my camera up my ass. Okay. Normal written complaints.
Right.
And then instead of Nye County investigating his threats, they basically told me, "Oh, he's just doing his job, and we're not gonna stop him from coming around your home." They didn't even look into the fact whether he was threatening me or not, but they basically showed my complaints deliberate indifference. Basically look at me like I'm just some complainer that like they can't be complained against, But the funny thing is that like back when you know how it's a progression. Like if Eric Brandt would have said what he said, his hopes and prayers today, he probably wouldn't even be getting nothing. But since it was back then, he gets 12 years in prison for hopes and prayers. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is exactly kind of like what's happening to me right now, where since I've gotten charged and then my charges stacked, I've seen people, punch, spray pepper spray on their threader, the people that are making threats against them, confronting them on the public sidewalk and trying to snatch their cameras, where people use defense, and they don't even get they get like helped by the cops. You know what I mean? I think
so. What I don't want to drag this on too long because it's kind of I can't put it together mentally. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to weed out everything else and just put fact on fact on fact. What was the wrong that was done to you by the police department?
it was the sheriff's department, but yeah, it's the same thing. Blah blah blah. I was protesting the public service employee. It came to the day before I was wrongfully arrested. I had to defend myself. The guy got out of his truck, walked at me, telling me he was going to stuff my camera up my ass. I told him to stop, get away from me. And he just kept on walking at me with this look in his eye like he was going to fucking grab me. So when he got within reach, I had a camera in one hand and pushed him with the other hand to get him away from me. And the deputy showed up that day, and it was the same deputy that the deputy actually battered me the next day.
So this guy who was berating you and harassing you walked into your space. You pushed him back to give yourself some space. Did you get all this on video?
Yeah, it's all on video.
And then when
I was recording on Freedom from Government's phone. When I went down to the protest, Freedom from Government gave me his phone because he has over 100,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
On his channel. So I took Freedom from Government's phone down to the protest, and I was protesting. The guy that I was protesting rides up in his car, or in his truck, gets out of his truck and walks at me saying he's going to stuff my camera up my ass. So I defended myself when he got within reach to touch me
by pushing him back. Right?
Yeah, I just pushed him back, and then the deputies came. They saw the videos, and they basically told me and the public works guy that they were going to be charging both of us. They were going to be charging him for assault, making threats, and me with battery, carrying out the threats. And I said, wait a second, I didn't threaten nobody. And basically, they converted my right to defend into a crime. They never charged the old guy for assault, making the threats. And then they didn't arrest me or him that day. They just said that they were going to be charging both of us. Well, then the next day, the public works dude that is committing crimes, threats, which is assault in the state of Nevada, they consider verbal threats as assault, and then battery is the unwanted touch. But the thing about it is that the next day I go down to protest the dude's presence. This is like within 100 yards of my home, by the way. They always use their positions to act like they have to come around my house after I've asked Knight County to keep them away from my house. Okay, they don't think that they have to. They like it. They want me to. They want me to, like you say, have them under my skin. You see what I'm saying? Like this and that. But
did Freedom from Government cover your story?
No, he didn't.
Did anybody cover your story?
No.
Have you made a video about
a couple people have allowed me to showcase my story on their live panels.
Have you made a video about your story on your channel?
I've made a couple videos trying to explain what was happening with using the videos while explaining audibly or whatever.
If that's on your channel, You Have Rights, Cops Have Duties.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just can you just email me contact
Yeah.
at highimpactflix.com? Because
I emailed you back then, and then I was you were interested in talking with me about this, and then all of a sudden I got like a sock account or something that said, "I don't know, man, you're yelling and stuff," and I kind of figured it was from you, but maybe it wasn't because I can't prove
what do you
that.
mean
But you never talked to me about it again.
a sock account? I don't even have sock.
Yeah, some account I never seen on YouTube before at the time.
Mhm.
In our circles. Just messaged me shortly after you said you would you gave me your email address, and I emailed you all my information, and then all of a sudden, like within the week, some account said, "I don't know, man. It looks like you're yelling and all this other stuff." I can't exactly. I could probably pull up the email or the comment or whatever, but and try to pinpoint it. But I'm not really that worried about it. Like I
don't have sock
even
accounts.
if it was you, or even if you didn't want to ever listen to my story or told me that, "Oh, I don't know, you're young," I wouldn't be mad at you. I still like you. I still support you. I still give your videos likes and everything. It doesn't matter to me whether you support me or not. I'm still going to support you with likes and listening to your lives.
Give me a chance. Give me a chance right here. First of all, I'm not making you any promise. Second of all, when I do a story, I have to, number one, first, I got to understand it. I got to believe in it, and I got to be able to package it so that I can give it to the audience in an understandable fashion. You know what I mean? That's why when I talk to people, I'm not being rude by saying, "Hey, don't make this long, encapsulate it. Make sure you can distill this so we can all understand it." If I don't understand it, if I don't believe in it, and if I don't believe that I can make it understandable for other people, I typically don't touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can send me a video that I can understand, where I can follow the logic trail of who was wronged, who did the wrong, who was the department that did it, and everything surrounding it, that I can put in like some package that I can give to people to understand, I will take a look at it.
I'll tell you this. I wasn't the one telling the old public works guy I was going to stuff anything up his ass. In fact, I've never threatened anyone. I wasn't the one that walked across the street and shoved the deputy.
Yeah,
where the deputy had to react to my shove.
Yeah,
that was the other way around.
I have no doubt about that. If you can just send me that would be great. Just give me something to go on.
And then another one of my charges is based on my video from May 30th about this replacement for the older guy. He was named in the case discovery as the credible witness, but video shows that he was across the street, not even paying attention when the deputy shoved me. But he said him in his testimony says that I shoved the deputy, but he didn't see the deputy get physical with me at all. Let
me stop here, because there's like tons of people in the room that are not able to follow what you're saying, because we're all over the place. So in the spirit of, let me just look at that one thing so I can deal with that one thing and possibly maybe make a video on it and bring you some exposure and some justice in the future. Did this cost you any money? Did you have to go to court? Were you in jail? If so, for how long?
I was taken to the jail. I was taken to the jail for battery on a peace officer.
For how long?
Originally.
How long were you in jail?
I was in jail for 6 days.
Did you go to court?
Chili DeCastro raised money for my bail.
Did you go to court?
Yes, I initially went to the stupid court.
And did you win?
I haven't won yet. I'm being maliciously prosecuted, which is adds to this what's happening to me exponentially. They're trying to force me to have a public defender, even though I didn't agree to nothing, didn't sign nothing, didn't say nothing. But they're telling me that she's my power of attorney. And I've claimed Faretta rights since. I've since motioned to represent myself in the court, and I've put in tons of motions in the last. It's been since 2022, and it's 2026 now, so it's been 4 years of malicious prosecution. The courts have failed to respond to any of my motions or writs. They're trying to tell me that I have a public defender, and my public defender is supposed to file motions for me. And I've got documentation, written documentation that I fired her.
Here's what I
long
need you to
time
do.
ago.
Here's what I need. If you're interested, here's what I need you to do for me is, I am a dull knife in the drawer. I am mentally challenged. So I need you to give me an email, making it super simple for me so I can understand it, and give me all the, the video and all that kind of stuff you want me to take a look at. And I will try to take a look at that. Just, can you send me an email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you look at the emails that I sent you back then in the day, or do you still not have those?
I don't know. You'll have to send me an email, and then I'll just do a search for all the emails that you sent me.
Okay. Yes. I think High Impact Flicks something or other is your email, right?
contact@highimpactflix.com. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right, brother.
Hey,
I'm
sorry that we've had kind of a estranged relationship since all this. I know you can't promise anything, so don't think that I'm like expecting you to like hold the entire world on your shoulders. I merely would like somebody to showcase my story. I have 626, I believe, subscribers. It was like Chili has over 500,000, and me and Chili were friends before my case, and since then, I don't understand why Chili wouldn't showcase my story, but he saw something that he didn't want to showcase. I don't get it, because there's nothing that I did criminally in my case. Yes, I pushed the public service employee, but that was a reaction to his threats. Yes, I pushed the
I was
deputy.
unaware. I was unaware of any kind of strain that you and I had between us. So
yeah, but it's because I haven't really been talking to you in like 4 years, bro.
Well,
I kind of like felt I certainly feel left behind. 600 something subscribers. I have a highly provocative channel. I'm one of the bravest ones I know, except for I'm not highly followed. But I've been. Yeah,
Well,
I don't want to go into it that far, but yeah.
I got to move along. I apologize for making you feel like that, and just send me that email. Okay. Okay. Take care. Jeff, sorry to make you wait, man. How you doing? You've been very patient. You're muted. You're muted. Cannot hear you. Yeah, it shows muted. It's not muted on my side. Let's see. Somebody sent a super chat while he was talking. Who was that? Clownzilla says DOJ cops program, pre-crime program units, neighborhood.
How about now? Is it going to work now?
Yeah, you're unmuted.
All right.
What's up, Jeff?
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Yeah.
So my story involves Washington State, Clallam County. It took place back in 2005 to 2009.
Did you say Collin County? C-O-L-I-N? Collin County?
Clallam County.
How do you spell that?
C-L-A-L-L-A-M.
Clallam County. Okay.
Clallam. Port Angeles, Washington.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right. So I was arrested in 2005 for felony possession with intent to deliver of marijuana.
Okay.
And so I believe it was a Friday that I was arrested. I spent the weekend in jail. And then on Monday, I was served with paperwork stating that I was being charged with felony possession of over 40 grams of marijuana, because I had explained to the cop why I had a scale and why my stuff was divided up.
And why was that?
Because cheaper to buy it in big quantities at once. And then I can't just take bowl after bowl out of the bag, or by the middle of the month, I'll be out of weed, out of money for weed. And I can't let that happen. So I got to divide it up to make sure it'll last me for a month to a month and a half.
So is it illegal in Washington state to have that much weed?
Yeah, in 2005, it was illegal to have any weed.
And you were busted for intent to deliver, possession and intent to deliver?
Yes, their original charge was felony possession with intent to deliver.
Okay.
But because of my explanation, they changed it to felony possession of over 40 grams. I had 45.5 grams.
Okay.
And so then Monday we go in front of the judge, and the first thing the prosecutor wants $5,000 bail, non-bondable. So I looked at the judge and I was like, Your Honor, I'm not a flight risk. I have no reason to run. I would just like to be out while this is going on. And he was like, well, you have a really strong tie to this community, $500 bail bondable. And so I had friends in the court. And so I was like, get a hold of my mom. You know, she'll bail me out for $50, no problem. And so then the judge was asking me something, and I didn't understand what it was that he was asking me. So I was like, what exactly am I being charged with? And he verified that it was felony possession of over 40 grams of marijuana. And I was like, well, I cannot deny that, but it is my religious belief and right to possess and smoke marijuana. And so he was like, well, you need to proceed with that as your defense. And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, well, can you afford an attorney? And I was like, no. And so he appointed me a public pretender. And so then they took me down into the jail. And so I'm waiting for my mom to bail me out, and the day goes by and I don't get bailed out. And so the next day I get a phone call. And so I call up my mom and I'm like, Mom, why haven't you bailed me out? And she's like, honey, I was down there first thing Monday after I found out, and I tried to bail you out, but they had added the charge with intent to deliver, and they haven't taken you in front of the judge. And so I cannot bail you out until you get in front of the judge. And so they never took me in front of the judge. They dropped the charges on Wednesday, and my mom was able to bail me out.
Okay.
So then I get my public pretender, and he tells me because of the Balzer case, Balzer, that I can't take a religious defense, that basically all I could do is take a plea. And I was like, oh, no, I can definitely take a religious defense. I don't care if I have to fire you. That's what I'm going to do. And so we go in front of the judge for me to fire him. And we're also getting to near the end of the 90 days for my speedy trial. And so I told the judge that I was ready to go forward within the 90 days. And he told me, well, the prosecutor isn't ready, and they have just as much right to be ready as you do. And so I'm overruling your right to a speedy trial.
Wow.
And then he made me wait 2 weeks to decide whether I wanted to actually represent myself or not. And during that time, the public pretender that they had appointed me got a case out of the county, so they were able to give me a different public pretender to represent me. And he basically told me the same thing, that the Balzer case makes it so I can't take a religious defense. And by then I'd been going to the library and studying and trying to find, anything that I could use. And so I wanted him to write up these motions for dismissals on like half a dozen different constitutional violations, including the 8th, the 9th, the 14th Amendment, obviously the First Amendment.
Were you actually pulled over during a traffic stop with this stuff on you?
So that was the best part. So my friends were out at a funeral, and my other friends were house sitting for them, an apartment building. And so they had called up and had just gotten home. So I took my friends up there to drop them off, and I went inside to see how they were doing, and then I was going to leave. Well, they lived kitty corner to this church, and all the parking in front of the apartment was taken, so we parked in front of this church. Now, the driver's door of my van didn't open, so me and my buddy's girlfriend got out of the very back of my van and crossed the street over to the church, the apartments.
Mhm.
And then my buddy got out of the passenger seat and followed behind us. And then while we were in the apartment building, the alarm at the church started going off. And so we were worried about my van being parked there. And I had seen other vehicles leave the alleyway without being bothered. And so I left the apartment building. Now, when I got outside of the apartment building, they had turned the alarm off. And so I walked over to my van, got in my van, and went to drive away. And the police officer waved me down. And so I stopped for him. And then he asked me if I heard the alarm going off. I explained to him, no, I hadn't heard it. And then he told me that he smelled marijuana. And I had incense on my dashboard. So I was like, well, I think you smell my incense. And then he's like, what about that pipe on your floorboard? And so I was like, well, if there's a pipe on my floorboard, I can't deny that. Well, I guess my buddy saw the cops in the alleyway when we stopped. And so he set his pipe down on the floorboard right next to the passenger seat. And you can't visibly see the floorboard from outside the passenger's window. So I don't know how he knew it was there. But anyways, he has me get out of the van. And then the first thing he does is he grabs my junk, my crotch, like 3-4 times in a row before searching me anywhere else, to the point where I was like, are you done searching me? Or are you going to keep filling me up? And he was like, I just started searching you, patted my back pockets, and then took me and put me in the cop car. And then they, talked for a little bit, and then they pulled me out, and a different officer did a proper search on me. And then they told me they were going to search my van. I told them I didn't see how they had the right to, but they were going to do what they were going to do. And then they put me back in the cop car, and they spent like an hour and a half, 2 hours searching my van. And then the cop gets into the cop car, and I see my van start pulling off. And then we follow my van to the police station. And that's when I asked the officer what I was being charged with. And he told me felony possession with intent to deliver.
So 45 grams is what you had, 44 grams, something like that, right?
Yeah, 45.5.
And according to Washington's law, if I understand, if it's flowered, usable cannabis, you can have up to 1 ounce in Washington state.
Well, this is now. You can buy up to 1 ounce now. But back then, you couldn't possess any.
Oh, so back then, okay.
Yeah, this is 2005. So
I mean, this is, and I know I'm preaching to the choir on this, but this is why I hate the drug war laws, because you should be able to transport whatever you want, alcohol, whatever, as long as you're not endangering people on the public highways. You should be able to have the white powdery stuff. There should be no limit, and the government should not have a say in your life. So I hate this happened to you, man. You just got railroaded, and you're just another victim of the drug war laws.
So
which ruins so many freaking lives.
Yeah, definitely. So the judge tells me that he won't allow me to produce any evidence to a jury about it being my religious belief and right. Because
I'm reading that too. They don't allow for that, and
because the jury's not there to nullify the law.
Yeah, right. Well, people can talk all they can about jury nullification, but if the judge determines who's going to be sitting on that jury, it kind of doesn't matter.
Right. And so then my first public pretender, he told me also that if the judge thought I was wasting the jury's time, he might be harder on me during sentencing.
That on its face is unjust. It's like, what law, what violation of the law is that?
So I got appointed my second public pretender, which is Harry Gaznick, which is like the, big shot. And so he tells me the same thing, but then also he tries to get me to admit to using marijuana for other than religious purposes. Mm-hmm. And of course I denied that and explained ever since I was like 18, 19, and I learned about the religious significance of it, I always bless my smoke before I smoke it. And so I gave him an example of a blessing. And so then he was willing to write up a motion for dismissal on my religious beliefs, where before he was telling me that I couldn't take a religious defense.
So where does it stand now?
Oh, so I represented myself.
Mm-hmm.
I filed all the paperwork because I knew it was a kangaroo court and my only chances was going to be with the appeals court. And so I also learned that when you take a constitutional stance on something like this, then the state has the obligation to show the compelling interest and least restrictive means clause. And so I explained that to the judge, and the judge told me that no, they didn't have to do that. And so I didn't have a jury trial because I didn't see the point in having a jury trial because I couldn't produce any evidence to a jury. And so, of course, the judge found me guilty. He sentenced me to a year of probation, a drug evaluation, which led to a year of outpatient treatment, 34 days in jail, 4 served, 30 converted to community service, and $1,000 in fines. And as soon as he sentenced me, I appealed his ruling. And as far as I understand, since there's not a final ruling on the case, I wasn't required to report for any of his conditions. Well, I come to find out you actually have to ask for a stay of execution for that to happen. And so 2 weeks later, I was arrested for a probation violation. I served 2 weeks to 2 months in Clallam Bay Prison. And the only way they would release me is if I agreed to do the sentencing. And so I did. And so I completed the year of probation and all of that. And then the appeals court finally made their ruling. And their ruling was the judge messed up by not allowing me to produce my evidence to a jury and by not having the state show the least compelling interest clause. And they wanted the case retried. And so the prosecutors reversed my conviction and dismissed the charges with prejudice. And I was like, what about all the time that I served and the money that I spent? And the prosecutor told me, well, we can pay back the fine, we can pay back the money, but the rest is in the past. There's nothing we can do about it.
That's the state. That's the state for you. My gosh.
And so the most recent thing, so I thought my, statute of limitations was up, I didn't know about, section 18, 241 and 242, which actually you got to report to the FBI or the DOJ to do that. I didn't know about the 1983, which I'm just finding out about. So now I'm trying to pursue punitive damages.
Right.
And also Washington State passed a law in 2013, RCW 4.100, and there's a new law involved in that, SSB 5520, which will allow me to get money for any time in prison or probation or out on bail.
Yeah, basically you're going to file a civil rights lawsuit under 42/1983, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But if I file the 4.100, that won't allow me to do anything. So I got to hold that one if I lose the 1983. But so the most recent event, so I needed to get my court documents and go through it to get my facts and everything straight and get names and whatnot. And so I went down to Clallam County to see my physical file and photograph it. And so surprisingly, at first they were like, well, I don't know if we have the file. And I already talked to the archiver, so I knew it wasn't there. And so they did have it, and it took them only about 30 minutes to get it and let me look at it. But then the lady explains to me that I can't take any of the file apart. And there was a Menenva envelope in the file. And so I was like, well, I need to be able to see what's inside the Menenva envelope. And so the clerk took apart the left side of the file to get to the Menenva envelope. And then she explained to me to make sure that I didn't take the right side of the file apart. So I said that I was fine with that and that I would make sure that the left side stayed in order. And so she left and I started photographing everything. And then a different clerk comes out and she's like, you can't take the file apart like that. And so I explained to her, ma'am, I didn't take the file apart. The other clerk took it apart. And I went back to photographing it. She's like, you can't photograph it either. We provide copies for 50 cents a page. And I was like, oh no, I definitely have the right to see my physical file and document it. And she's like, where's that law? And she went to physically take the file from me. And so I stopped her from taking the file until I could get my video recording. And then I let her take the file and I was like, ma'am, you're going to violate my First Amendment rights. And she's like, I'm not violating your rights. And she rushed out, behind the doors. And so I left, got my son so he could video me. And then I wrote out a deal explaining what laws she was violating and that I had the right to see my physical files. And so I went back after lunch, and then they denied me to see my physical files because I took my files apart.
Did you record that whole interaction?
And yes, I have it all under recording.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
good.
so I'm about ready to file a 1983 lawsuit for that in itself.
Well, I hope you win, man.
So yeah, it's been a interesting case.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've never heard of Calumet County, Washington, but man, it looks beautiful. It's all
It's
green and stuff.
It's Clallam.
Yeah, Clallam County, Washington. It looks like it's very sparsely populated, like they have just real small towns around there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, the best thing about it is you got the ocean on one side and the mountains on the other.
Oh man, it's beautiful. Holy cow, that must be a joy to live there.
Yeah, it's a great place to live.
Well, listen, brother, thanks for telling your story. I got one more person, and then I got to get out of here.
All right, thank you for letting me tell it. You take care,
Yeah,
man.
hope that works out, Jeff. Take care. Clownzilla.
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, brother?
I cannot complain.
All right. Well, I was just calling in. First, I'd like to say, man, I love your channel and I love what you do. I've been following you back since like high impact flicks, and since like your very first channel, man.
Thanks,
I've had
man.
like
Appreciate
multiple
it.
names that I've gone through, and but I've tried to keep up with you over the years.
Thanks.
For sure. So what I was doing was I was calling in to kind of just like throw some insight into things. I'm one of those people, I don't quite, like to interact with police or like be in the general public. I operate more with inside of the private. And when people say private, I mean private is like within inside of your own residence. Anything you do inside of the general public is outside of your private residence. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just gave you the
Oh,
floor.
sorry
Yeah,
about that. I couldn't even see you. A couple of things that people might not understand is, just a little history about myself. I ain't gonna dive too deep in it, but I used to move a lot of drugs, a lot of weight. We'll put it that way. I used to, if I could make a buck off it, I'd make a buck off of it. I bought 10,000 Oxycontins one time for $1 a piece. Just as an example. It didn't really matter what it was, but I used to be in the game pretty hard. And I rode pretty hard, and I rode with a pretty rough crowd and group of people. And, at one time I put away 6 figures, right? So having said that, I've been involved in the court system, but we'll put it like this. I've never really been caught with drugs. I've always been smart in that sense. But what a lot of people don't understand is that, all crimes are commercial, right? It's a violation of the Commerce Clause. That's why there's pecuniary damages attached to the charging instrument. So the last 6 years, I've actually been studying law. And that guy from Washington, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's like 4 or 5 states, I think it's 4, that you can get a bar license without having a bachelor's degree in legal science. And Washington is one of them. Washington, California, I believe it's Florida, and Idaho or Ohio. I'm not quite sure about the Idaho or Ohio.
You can get a what kind of license?
You get a bar license, so you can actually become a licensed attorney without actually having to go to law school. It costs $500 to take the bar exam in Washington. I'm actually from Portland. I'm here in Portland. So having studied law and doing all of that, they'll run you through the ringer as far as like the system goes. But I think that's something that people fail to understand, right? And so when they're dealing with a public attorney, it's like a public attorney is your mouthpiece for the public, right? A private attorney is not going to do nothing from you, but take your money and send you up the road because they look at you as basically like the next client. Once they send you up the road and you go to prison, they're going to grab the next person. They're going to go ahead and take his money. Well, we'll go to trial for $5,000, and then they're going to send that dude up the road. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So I don't know if I can.
So in order to sidestep getting the bar license or the law school that it would take to get a bar license, you have to it's basically an apprenticeship, right?
No. So actually, right now, like me being in Oregon, I could run to Washington. I could pay $500 and take the bar exam the next time the bar exam is going on.
Oh, okay. So you do have to take the bar exam, but you don't have to go to law school.
You don't have to go to no law school, do nothing like that, right?
So
So
you,
Washington, California, Florida, and I believe Ohio or Idaho,
it's Vermont.
Vermont. Okay, there you go.
Yep. California, Virginia, Washington, and Vermont.
There you go. There you go. So, but so you can get away with that, but people don't understand that like everything everybody's talking about is a violation of the Commerce Clause. It all comes underneath the Commerce Clause. Commerce Clause is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution. And what grants the government the powers to execute the Commerce Clause and attach pecuniary damages to a charging instrument is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, known as preliminary powers. And what they bring you into is they don't bring you into a common law jurisdiction court. So I've actually gone to court and I fought tickets and I've won tickets. I'm one of those people that rode around with private plates on my vehicle. But I had insurance. I had non-licensed insurance. So you can get non-licensed insurance. That's a real thing. You can call an insurance company, get insurance for not, and you don't need a license to get it. Right. But when it comes to the driving and the traveling thing, that's a whole argument in itself, but you got to know how to execute things like that. But when you go to the county clerk will ask you, well, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? And that's when I actually asked the county clerk, I said, I'd love to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, but why would I enter a plea into a jurisdiction unbeknownst to me and not disclosed by you? And they said, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean. And that's when I said, well, is the charging instrument civil or criminal? Because when you narrow it down, right, what you're doing is you're narrowing down jurisdiction. So if the charging instrument is civil, they have to dismiss it. That would be like me bringing a civil charge against you and then trying my own civil charge against you. It's fucking lunacy. You can't do that. Excuse my language. Sorry. But when they say it's criminal, now what it really is it's civil and criminal, right? Is what it is. It's civil and criminal.
Now, are we talking about specifically dealing with, like, say, a traffic ticket, or are you talking about something else?
No, so that goes for all charges. The only difference is when you create a victim. So like a murder, they call that a civil death. So when a murderer like gets something like life in prison, that's called a civil death, right? Mm-hmm. They don't physically kill him, but they give him a civil death. In other words, he'll never make another dollar again in the public domain, right? And so they kill him civilly. He sits in the prison cell the rest of his life, and he's just shot. He's out of there. But if you create a victim and you have a signed certified affidavit of a complaining party, right? They can draw you into what is called an Article 3 court, which is a common law jurisdiction. But what they generally do is they put you into an Article 1, Section 8, Clause 9 legislative tribunal. Now, people will say that that's a federal jurisdiction. Granted, whatever the case may be, you can do all the arguments you want to do. But at the end of the day, what we do is we use federal fiat currency for as a medium of exchange for goods and services. And they want federal fiat currency, as a payment for the pecuniary damages attached to that charging instrument, right? And so what it is, it's a legislative tribunal, right? Just to kind of throw some insight and understanding on that guy that was just talking as far as the drug charge goes. And also federal courts are a completely different thing. I'm just talking about on a state level.
Well, isn't it? Isn't it true that this entire thing is basically constructed to railroad people and take advantage of their lack of knowledge and their ignorance about exactly what you're talking about?
Absolutely, and I agree with you, but isn't it the due diligence of the American people to educate ourselves and educate the people around us?
Oh, no, yeah, and I didn't say that. I'm not arguing or disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying the entire system from top to bottom is corrupt, and it's so corrupt that we can't even comprehend the measure to which it is corrupt. I mean, if we've got PDF files running Washington's District of Criminals, we're in pretty dire straits. And the guy who promised that he would expose it all is just doing his best to hide it. But back to this criminal and civil and all this stuff, I'm super interested in this because it seems to me, okay, tell me if I'm wrong or right here. Let's say everything that you say is absolutely right, completely airtight, totally constitutional, and in accordance with common law. So you're operating on this frequency or this plane right here. And then the judicial system, the black robe tyrant, I like to call them, whether it's a district court or a Supreme Court or a civil or criminal court, they're operating on this frequency. And they believe with all their heart that they're right. You know you're right, but they believe they're right, which they equate that with knowledge. How do you break through to that person who's going to say it's my way or the highway, and all your stuff is just a bunch of gobbledygook? How do you tear down that veil? Because the veil needs to be torn down, right?
So here's the thing: you can't tear down the veil, right?
Okay.
What the courts don't want to do is the courts don't want to alert the general public to actually what is going on. So there's a bond attached to every charging instrument. You can look it up. It's a CUSIP number, right? It's a qualified security instrument number. But
Will they
those bonds,
will they admit to that?
they will not admit to that on the public record. They never will, and don't ever expect them to do that. But what it is it's your due diligence to hire your own stenographer when you go to court. See, the stenographer that works in the court, and this is one thing that I found out playing with these courts. When you go to court and the stenographer that works for the court, what they'll do is that the judge will actually motion, right? When you're in court, you need to watch everything that the judge is doing, the prosecuting attorney, the stenographer, the county clerks, all of them. You need to watch it all, right? And I've had them actually shut down the courtroom, move everybody out of the courtroom, put me in front of the judge, and have the deputies get directly in my face and like spitting while they're talking into my face. And I'm like, Your Honor, I'm making it public record because I hired my own stenographer. So they will do things like that. But what matters is, because you're not there to win or lose the case. People have a win-lose mentality inside of their head, right? You need to have a win-win mentality. Now, there's other ways you could do it. You could do a bill of an exchange as an exemption for the charging instrument, right? And that's one way to do it, because these are admiralty maritime jurisdictional courts that operate underneath equity, right? And when you enter equity into clean hands. So there's certain ways to do things, but as far as when you're there, you need to be creating a record for the Court of Appeals. You need to already assume and presume that you're going to lose in what the judicial court. But another thing that people don't understand too is that the judicial court is actually an administrative proceeding, right? The judge isn't even a judge. They're an administrator that works for the legislator acting inside of a judicial capacity. And that's what people don't understand. Right?
Well, I got kind of a one problem with what you said, though. Like when I say tear down the veil, you're a human being and this judge is a human being. There's really, other than all the illusions that go into judicial proceedings and even the Constitution, the bottom line is you're a human, they're a human, whether it's female or male. And and when I say tear down the veil, doesn't there need to be some form of understanding on their part so they don't just shut you off and go, all that's gobbledygook, here's my ruling, and you got to live with that?
So I agree with you, right? That like we're all human beings and we should be treated like we're human beings. Actually, the legal definition of human being is a monster.
Yeah,
So it's considered a monster when you're speaking the legal. But what the court doesn't see is they don't see you as a human. They see you as a commercial product. So for instance, when you're driving, without, like, let's say without a license, or you're traveling, or whatever word you want to use, and you're operating, right? I've actually had it put on the record, right? Like I've questioned the state. Okay, well, if I wasn't transporting any commercial goods, right, for a means of services, then that would make me the commercial good, because we are all sureties for the national debt. So what it really starts with is it starts with the Social Security card number. That's the key to all of this.
I know, but I don't want, like, I want to actually have a long form discussion with you, maybe for another day, but how do we because you're in that courtroom because they made you come in there, because if they don't, men with guns are going to come and throw you into a cage, right?
Absolutely. You're there under duress. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So, and you're just basically there trying to free yourself from the fowler's snare. I mean, you're caught in a bear trap and you're trying to release it. And the only way you can release it is to break through to that judge who actually has her or his fate in your hands, right? So how do you break through? How do you take this truth and get them to actually swallow the pill that they really don't want to swallow?
They won't, but they'll give you an out. They'll give you an out. They won't do that. Like no matter how much you want that to happen, that is not going to happen from them. But they will give you the out.
What do you mean they'll give you the out? You'll have an opportunity to release the snare from your foot?
Pretty much. Like, so when I first started studying law, and then I went into court and I actually executed some things that I learned as far as, traffic tickets goes. And there's a great document. It's called the Court Survival Guide, or a Common Law Abatement Process. You can look that up. Those are great documents to read. The common law abatement process is you're just abating the charging instrument. You're making them correct the errors on the record, right, of the ticket itself. And that's abating the charging instrument. That's one way to get the ticket dismissed, right? Or to get the charging instrument itself dismissed, right? A lot of times when they bring a grand jury indictment against you, they don't even have a true bill. It's not even signed or a true bill. I've even seen things where dead people have been on the grand jury, right? Like they're actually like dead people registered as like certificate of death. So that's one thing that they will do, but nobody challenges that, right? I mean, what's an attorney going to do? Like, what's a public servant going to do? That's why you hand them a letter of rogatory, right? Known as a letter of instruction.
Yeah.
So these are certain things that you got to know. But what I mean by giving you the out is, I give you an example. When the judge told me, I asked if it was a civil or criminal charge, right? Openly in court. You generally want to beat them in arraignment. Once you get past arraignment, you're fighting an uphill battle, man. If you don't have all your paperwork or your ducks in a row, I mean, you're just fighting an uphill battle. So if you can beat them in arraignment, that's the best place to beat them. But if you're gonna beat them, like if you're looking for a win-lose situation. But when I asked the judge, is the charging instrument civil or criminal? The way she responded was, well, it's a little bit of both. And so my response was, this was when I was a little less educated at the beginning of my journey. I said, so in other words, the charging instrument is criminal. And she said, yes. And I said, thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect the charging instrument is criminal. Now, it's the defendant's understanding that in accordance with the United States Constitution, this power is granted two jurisdictions, one being a common law jurisdiction, and another being an admiralty maritime jurisdiction of a colorable aspect, an admiralty maritime jurisdiction of a colorable aspect that requires an international contract, right? So which of these two jurisdictions is the court operating under? So this was the out that she gave me.
How do you get her to agree to what you just said?
That's the question. Well. So first thing is when you walk into, I mean, there's steps you got to take. So when they go for arraignment, they go, well, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? Well, Your Honor, the defendant would love to enter a plea for the court, but the defendant doesn't know what jurisdiction the court is operating under. And for the record, Your Honor, under Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, the defendant reserves all of his rights and waives none. So that right there on the record, the judge will sit back like, whoa, okay, we got one. Here we go. So now they're interested, right? The judge will interact with you. The courts will interact with you. They will be interested. And so the judge will be like, they'll say something like noted, right? They won't confirm, but they'll say like noted, like something like that, right? And each judge acts differently too. I've realized this. Each judge has their own little unique thing that they do.
Yeah.
But then what you say is the judge will be, so the defendant has a couple questions for the court. If the court will allow the defendant to answer questions, because underneath the Sixth Amendment, it's the defendant's right to know the nature and cause of the charging instrument. Now, Your Honor, we know what the cause is. The defendant obviously crossed the road. The charging instrument, or the court is alleging that the defendant obviously crossed the road. So that the charging instrument would be jaywalking. But what is the nature of the charging instrument? The definition of nature means jurisdiction. And the judge will know that, right? They'll know that. And so when you say that, the judge will be like, okay, so Your Honor, is the charging instrument civil or criminal? That is a question that narrows down jurisdiction. Now, there's people that will go, they'll say, okay, well, I don't ever challenge jurisdiction because we've granted jurisdiction by becoming a surety for the national debt. But when you go into court and you try these processes, the truth will be revealed to you, because just watch how the state acts. Watch how the judge acts. Watch how the deputies act. Watch how everybody acts, because it's like the light is going to shine, and everything that you've been learning is going to be like, whoa. So when the judge says, okay, well, it's criminal, that's when you say, thank you, Your Honor. Let the record reflect that the charging instrument is criminal. Now, Your Honor, it is the defendant's understanding that in accordance with the Sixth Amendment of the United States Constitution, this court is granted two jurisdictions underneath the criminal charging element, one being a common law jurisdiction, the other being an admiralty maritime jurisdiction that requires an international contract of a colorable aspect. Which of these two jurisdictions is this court operating under? Now, they will not answer that question, because if they do, now they have made it public on the record. But when you have they might run over the top of you. I've had them run over the top of me when you answer that question. If you don't have a stenographer, they will try to just run right over the top of you, because they look at you as like, oh, he's not serious, right? With the stenographers paid by the state. Why are you relying on a state stenographer to hold the record true? They won't. They'll write SIC in the record, sick, right? So like the court didn't hear it, or the stenographer didn't hear it. And the judge will motion to the stenographer. I've witnessed that and I've experienced that. So that's why you had your own stenographer there.
This sounds like it's the very reason that they don't allow you to record in court proceedings.
Yeah, so they don't want that. They don't want the general public alerted that every charging instrument has a bond. There's a document called One Man Out. You can actually look this up. It's called One Man Out. It's a real document. It's of an individual that actually wrote himself out of prison. He issued a bond to the U.S. Secretary of Treasury to discharge the debt created, because what they do is they take a bond, right? That's attached to the charging instrument that holds pecuniary damages, and they put it into a high interest yield account. And over a 30-year period, that bond, those credits from that bond mature, right? Because a bond is the same thing as federal fiat currency. When I first started learning law, what I did is I wrote out a bond and I presented it to my law professor. And he said, this is really fucking good. He said, excuse my language, I apologize. He said, this is really good. He said, but you're gonna have to take this to 100 banks to get it accepted. And I said, what do you mean? And bro, I took it to a couple banks to try to get it accepted and they all denied me. But that bond acts as a monetary value, just like the federal fiat currency. We're dealing with funny money. No, there's no money. We're a bankrupt nation. You can even put the national debt on the record, but they will flip shit about that. They don't like that. You can put the national debt on the record during your court proceedings. They don't like that because as a United States citizen, you do not have a right to challenge the national debt. But then you can get into state citizenship and you can say, well, as a state citizen, because each state is a country or a parish, I do have the right to challenge the national debt.
Okay, Clownzilla, what's your first? Can I call you? What's your real name?
My real name is Levi.
Levi, I'm Brian. I am
Nice to meet you,
super
Brian.
interested. I am super interested. This is a great conversation, man. I wish we'd just done a live stream on this, and maybe we should. So, is there a way? You obviously teach this, right? Do you teach this?
Actually, I don't teach this. Like I said, I remain very much in the private. I don't like to be on YouTube. I don't like to. I've actually been, so the guy that you had on there that was kind of getting a little distressed or upset when he was telling his story, the second to last dude before me. So there was one guy before me and the other guy. He was talking about like, yeah, that guy. He was talking about stalking and stuff like that. So I was actually stalked really hard for like 10 years. And it wasn't until I got up with USA, United States Gang Stalking Anti-Association of America. And that's ran by a guy named Richard Moore. And Richard Moore is based out of Mississippi. And he actually put me on to who was doing the stalking to me because I was dealing with this course. But the reason why I was being stalked was because I sold a lot of drugs, right? And so somebody within inside of my circle, whether it was the person that I was buying from, right? And I don't do that anymore. Obviously, I'm older now. I'm almost 40 years old now. That was young man shit. You know what I mean? Like we all grow up. We got families. We all got shit going on. Excuse my language. Sorry. But he actually put me on to who was doing it. And so like those programs are like the Department of Justice Cops program, the pre-crime program unit. We had one here in Portland for a while. The neighborhood community watch organizations, they go inside of like Narcotics Anonymous and Alcohol Anonymous, and they look for low-level nonviolent offenders to stalk the targeted individual. And what their ultimate goal is they actually look for you to be violent towards them, right? Because they want you locked up. They want you to kill yourself, right? Or off yourself. They want you locked up. They want you off yourself, right? Or they want you to get violent with them so they can get violent. But those programs are actually ran by the city, right? And then so the sheriff, the cops, I actually had to hire a federal attorney. And when I called the federal attorney, I talked to a secretary, just a quick synopsis, right? I'm not going to get into all the details about that. But I talked to his secretary and she goes, he wants to talk to you on the phone. Never talked to this dude of a day of my life. And she goes, I just want to let you know that this attorney never really gets on the phone without coming in and meeting him and paying for his time. And the first thing he said when he got on the phone is he said, are you being stalked and harassed? And I just kind of explained, I didn't mention nothing about stalking, nothing about harassment. And I said, yes. And he said, well, I'm going to let you know they don't mean you no harm. And I said, well, that's BS. I said, because by doing that within itself is a predatory action. That's like a panther coming after me in the jungle, right? And then telling me that the panther doesn't mean me no harm. That's nonsense, right? And so like I actually had to go through a federal attorney and I found a lot of stuff out about that. But like, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But that dude is somewhat right. But people aim things in the wrong directions. They don't know where to go with that, you know?
Well, why don't we can you email me?
Let me, what's your email, man?
Just under my long form videos, under my video tab on my YouTube channel, it's under every one of those videos, not the live videos like we're doing right now. It's contact at highimpactflix.com, FLIX.
Contact.
But
I got you.
Whoever's left in the chat, put a 1 in the room if you're interested in more of this. Somebody said that I was about to fall asleep. I'm the exact opposite. My wheels are turning. As you're talking, I have questions. I can't write them down fast enough. So I'm very interested in what you got to say because it sounds like you know your stuff and it sounds like a lot of people could benefit from this. Look at all the ones in the room. A lot of ones
I
in the
can't
room.
even see it because I'm on the stream with you, but I appreciate it. And it's been a long journey, man. This is 6-7 years of studying, and I mean I learn every single day. I read a lot of case law and court transcripts, because you learn the truth in the transcripts and the case law and the things where people mess up or the questions they should have asked that they didn't ask and different things like that.
Here's my concern, and here's what a lot of people fret about is that we do live on two completely separate planes. They might as well be different planets or different dimensions, because some people believe they have a higher claim over your life and property than you, to the point where, remember, I don't know if you saw that video that I did about 2 or 3 days ago, where that cop pulled that lady over and said, I saw you with your portable device in your right hand, and you can't, in this state, it's illegal to do that. And she held up her nub because she doesn't have a right hand. So in the face of this officer knowing what the evidence was, he still continued to give her a citation for the specific reason that he initially pulled her over for. So I say that to say this: when you're talking to a judge or a prosecutor or some kind of attorney in the court system that's already been brainwashed by this, bar association nonsense, this monkey business.
They're not brainwashed. They know, but go ahead.
They really think
they're not brain. You'll know. They totally know. They know. They all work together. The lawyers are the problem. The lawyers are it starts with the lawyers.
I know, but don't the lawyers end up being judges?
Yeah, that's why it starts with the lawyers. The lawyers are the problem. The lawyers protect everybody. See, the lawyers protect the cops, they protect the judges, they protect the system. But real quick on that lady with the cell phone, 2 things happened there. 1, the cop's ego, and he doubled down. 100% agree with you on that. 2, once he wrote the ticket, it now becomes a liability for him to drop the charging instrument. So when everybody goes, I can't believe it, there's no video evidence, or the video evidence doesn't show me doing this, why are they still proceeding with the charges? The reason why, it's a liability. If they drop the charges against you, you could sue the crap out of them for that. They're held liable for that. So like I pulled judges' bonds and cops' bonds. They're down here at Risk Management, Salem, Oregon. I don't know if anybody's from Oregon, but if you want a judge's or a cop's bond, or you're going to court, they're at Salem, Oregon, and Risk Management. Some states don't have bonds. Some states have insurance on cops, right? So you got to kind of like look for that. It goes by state, but it's a liability.
What does that mean to drop? What does that mean to drop somebody's bond? What is that? How does that flesh out? What does that mean?
So what that does is that, like, when you go to court, you should be putting the judge's oath of office on the record. That should be on the record, because now you're upholding the judge to their oath of office. If that's not on the record, then what record does the judge have as an oath of office being in the court?
What specific is there one cookie cutter oath of office that all judges take? Is it pretty much the same?
They pretty much take an oath of office like a cop, like to the Constitution, uphold the Constitution of the United States, the rights of the American people, all that shit. Basically, it's the same thing, but that's at Risk Management too. So when you find out who your judge is, you should be pulling that judge's bond. That judge is bonded just like the cop is bonded. See, this is all commercial. That's why this is the problem. People don't look at it as it's a commercial thing. You are a commercial entity. Through you is you are a transmitting utility that operates within the world of commerce, right? You exchange your time and labor for federal fiat currency, right? Currency. So it's all commercial. So when you go to court, that judge's bond should be on the record. That judge's oath of office should be on the record. That cop's bond should be on the record, right? Even the state's attorney is bonded.
What percentage of people who go to court know to pull the bond, would you say?
I would say it's less than 1%. I said, if I were to take a guess, I'd probably say it's less than 0.5%. I'd probably put it at 0.001%.
And explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. What is the importance of pulling a cop's or a judge's bond, just so I'm clear about it?
When you pull their bond, you can see how much they're bonded for. So then when the charging instruments get basically dropped and you go to sue them, when you sue them, that money isn't like, okay, for instance, I give you an example. When you're like, well, the taxpayers are going to pay for that, right? That's not always true. That's not always true. The bond, let's say you have a $100,000 bond. Okay, just as an example. The cop has a $100,000 bond. You sue him and the court grants you $50,000. $50,000 from a $100,000 bond will be deducted from that bond. Now he's going to have to pay more on that bond. Kind of like little gyms. But and so what happens is though that I'm going to explain this first. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here, but when those credits get deducted from that bond and you get paid, that $50,000 is going into your account off of that bond. That's not coming from the taxpayers. That's coming from his bond that he paid for.
And
Okay.
and so bond is like an insurance.
Pretty much
is that right?
same thing. Yes.
And
Me
where-
personally, I believe everybody in the public should be bonded, but that's just me personally.
Flux Capacitor says you need a podcast. I've seen a lot of very positive comments about what you're saying, and I'm serious about doing a live stream. If you are, the thing that I want to do with a live stream though, is I want to kind of streamline it so it's really easy for people to understand. Because I got to tell you, like, I'm getting lost in the weeds. I'm really trying to understand what you're saying, but I'm not familiar with the terminology, how to apply them, and even if I could apply them, what's the real world result? So I'm trying to think about 3 things while you're saying the next 10 things, and I'm kind of lost in the weeds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this takes years to learn, man. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I mean, all I can say to your audience is like, keep grinding. Get yourself a Bouvier's dictionary, a law dictionary. Get yourself a black law dictionary. I also have a Strong Exhaustions Concordance. So if you take the Strong Exhaustions Concordance and the black law dictionary or Bouvier's, it doesn't mean Bouvier's better. But when you take that and you turn around and you actually take the Bible and you work those 3 things together, those 3 things should go together. I took a course in private banking to like bank through a trust. And that's kind of how I like figured all of that. Those 3 books work together. The Bible, the Strong Exhaustive Concordance, and then a Bouvier Black Law Dictionary. But yeah.
Is there any way to divide this thing up into bite-sized, understandable portions that people can consume, follow the logic trail, back up if they need to, and backfill the knowledge that they don't have, and then move forward to the next segment? Is there a way to do that?
I mean, it depends on the circumstances and like what you're going through. Like I learned this as as I went. There's certain things that I've memorized and I've kept because they apply to my life or they apply to what I'm doing, right? But yeah. I mean, like I guess it's just it goes by circumstance and person by person. There's no way to really narrow it down. Where I would say somebody needs to start is read the Constitution front to back, and also get out of the statutes. Get out of the statutes. The statutes don't matter. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give your audience a gym right now. UCC 1-308 is all rights reserved without prejudice. Now you can look this up. ORS 71.3080, all rights reserved without prejudice. That statute is an Oregon statute, and it cross-references with the Unified Commercial Code. So all statutes in any law book automatically cross-reference with the Unified Commercial Code. Now, I've actually thought about writing a book about this, and I've talked to other people that study law, people that I know that are in this field and area, and we've kind of talked about it together. But the problem is they changed those UCC codes. Once you kind of start to learn them, they'll change them up and they'll switch them on you, and it varies by state the statute. So like that ORS 71.3080, all rights reserved without prejudice, that cross-reference with the UCC 1-308, those two together go together, right? Okay, so I found those 2. But that doesn't mean that they go together in, like, let's say Mississippi or New York. The statute's going to be completely different. So I would have to like write a book that like went through every single statute to cross-reference it to the Unified Commercial Code to each state. But everything is the Unified Commercial Code. Get out of the statutes and start reading the Unified Commercial Code, because that is where you are going to get your freedom. It's not in the statutes. They play in the statutes, right? And once you understand the charging instrument is commercial, nothing else really matters. It kind of throws insight, right? And you got to stop going to court and getting emotionally mad or upset, going, well, damn, I lost that one. Why did I lose? I did everything I was supposed to do right. This is crazy. The judge is corrupt. It's like, listen, you already know the judge is corrupt. You already know the system is corrupt. So you're not there in court to do all that. You're in court to make a record of the proceedings for the Court of Appeals, because the Court of Appeals is going to look at that and they're going to side in your favor if you ask the right questions.
So if I do a Google search, see, I did a Google search. Does every judge have a bond? What would you say?
I would say that I know some do. I can't. I would not say for certain that every judge has a bond because I don't know the laws in every single state. Every state is a country or a parish. Every state has their own sovereignty, so every state operates differently. I know Oregon does.
So when you say a bond, are you talking about a surety bond? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
And so if
Surety
you-
bond, also known as a liability bond. Yes.
So have you ever pulled a surety or liability bond of a judge or a prosecutor or a cop?
I've done it on the police and the cop that wrote me the ticket. I never actually did it on the judge because at the time I didn't know what I knew.
So when you pulled the surety bond on the cop, what do you see? What kind of documentation do you get?
I mean, you see how much they're bonded for. You can pull their oath of office too. That's all at risk management. All of that's at risk management. Give me sorry, I'm at 4% on my phone. I'm looking for a charger. Give me one
That's
second.
right. So it says, no, not every judge is personally bonded. Whether a judge is required to have a surety bond depends entirely on the jurisdiction and the specific type of court. And then when I look up UCC 1308, Uniform Commercial Code, is a legal provision that allows a party to perform or accept performance of a contract under an explicit reservation of rights. When a dispute
There you go. So you're
arises,
reserving your rights. Yes.
yeah, when a dispute arises, parties often want to continue doing business to mitigate damages, but fear that accepting a check or delivering goods might be interpreted as accepting the new unfavorable terms. UCC 1308 provides a legal mechanism to move forward by making it clear you are performing or accepting performance without prejudice, under protest, or under reserve. You are protecting your right to challenge the issue later. Right?
Now here's another thing too that people, yes, correct. But here's another
Okay.
thing too that people don't understand is that when you get pulled into jail, I'll give you some more gems. And I've actually personally done this, right? I've sat in jail for 72 hours. When you get pulled into jail, give me a second here. Hold on a second. This damn charger. I'm at like 2% here. My phone might die. Give me a second.
I'll tell you what, instead of getting into something else, because I really got to go and your phone is dying. So let's just put this on hold. Are you interested in, John Felix says, I pulled the bond for a tax collector, but don't know what to do with it. Why don't
You gotta lean it. You gotta put a lien on the bond. Go ahead.
Okay. So are you interested in doing a live stream maybe sometime in the future, maybe next week or something?
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out as far as via email.
Yeah, reach out to me and let's talk.
Sounds good, Brian. I appreciate you, man. Much love, everybody, and God bless.
Take care. Appreciate you. Okay, guys, I got to run. Hey, what's up, John Felix? How you doing, man? Appreciate you being here. You have rights. Don't forget to send me that email. You sat in jail for 34 days, Susan? All right. I guess that's it, guys. I got to take off, and I did not expect to be going for 3 hours. That's probably one of my longest live streams, 3 hours and 16 minutes, or at least 3 hours longer than I can remember. Okay, guys. Again, put a 1 in the room if you're interested in me doing a. What about your $20 super chat? Oh, I missed it. Okay, I'll go over it. If you guys are interested in me doing a video with Clownzilla about what we just talked about, let me know. Oh yeah, I missed these. Sorry. Okay, I got that one. I know this channel isn't about politics, but why do you not hold the Bush administration accountable? You may be new to my content. I've been on the internet since 2012 or 13. And I've done nothing but talk about Bush 1, Bush 2, Obama, Trump, Biden, especially since they were part of the plan of. I cut my teeth on. I was one of the very first people to call out the BS of that day, and had my channel taken down, and had one of the most viewed official story of that particular day, 9-11-01. And it had like 12, 15 million views in just like a year and a half or 2 years. Never heard you pinpoint the Bush administration. I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of what I did. Okay, I got that one. And I think we did that one. Iceman Cometh explains it thoroughly. All right, guys, let me see. Let me go back to the live, see what you guys are up to. Okay, that's a lot of ones. Yeah, I was super interested in that. What's up, Steve? How you doing, man? Much aloha, everybody. Love y'all. Stay real. Keep your eyes open. Stay vigilant. John Felix says that guy was awesome. Yeah, I liked him. He had a great spirit, a lot of knowledge, and easy to talk to. Those high impact flicks were the days. Were awesome. They didn't last long though, did they? Mark Stevens. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Mark. Last I saw, he like forsook everything that he once stood for. The last time I saw him, what he was saying, I couldn't even write. I was like, is this AI generated? What's going on here? So I don't know what happened to Mark Stevens. He completely backed off of what he had been talking about for years. Maybe High Impact Flicks was from 2013, but Here's the Deal channel was established under a decade ago. Yeah, for sure. For sure it was, but I don't talk about that kind of politics. Typically, I try to compartmentalize. I've got the Disturbing Illusion, which is my political channel. Here's the Deals, the police accountability channel. High Impact Vlogs, I just basically talk about whatever the news is for the day and try to put a truth filter slant on it. Let's see. First time I caught your live, watch all your videos, but never can catch a live. Hey, appreciate you being here. Yeah, exactly. Look what John Felix said. All presidents are criminals because they're puppets. They don't become presidents unless they're going to be yes men for the corporate and banking elite. That's who owns us. When you have 12 to 13,000, look, just type up how many lobbyists are in Washington, D.C. It's going to give you the number 12 to 13, 12 to, I've seen as high as 12 to 14,000. Those lobbyists are, you can call them persuaders, and those persuaders speak into ears, and the ears they speak into are the ears of those who are supposed to be your representatives, although they come with a lot of cash and a lot of perks and flights and meals and all these cool things and promises of when you leave your political office, you will have a defense contractor position, or you can work for big pharma, or you can work for this other industry right here. And they spend a ton of money, but the money that the persuaders, i.e. the lobbyists, spend is nothing close to the money they accumulate through the changing of those policies, the writing of rules, the making of laws that eliminate competition or give tax breaks or whatever. For example, who is it? It's not Intuit. Who is it that owns... shoot, who owns TurboTax? Is it Intuit? I think it's Intuit. Anyway, and let's say it is Intuit. I could be wrong, but let's just call it the company Intuit. They spent $4.5 million in 2025. And what TurboTax and Intuit made in that year of 2025, that fiscal year, was it was a crazy amount of money. Like it was 4 to 10 billion, let's say. So they spent 4.5 million. I think in 2025 they spent 5.3 million to make 4.5 billion. I'd say that's a pretty good ROI. That's the power of lobbyists and persuaders who persuade the politicians to make laws that are favorable for them and unfavorable for you. So there's a lot of crap going on like that. And we aren't even talking, that's just in finance. We haven't even talked about banking, big oil, big pharma, the defense contractors, military industrial complex, Core Civic, Geo Group, who runs the private for-profit prison system, which rakes in tons of cash. For example, let's see. Just real quick here, let's just do this first blush. Let's just say, how much did Core Civic and Geo Group spend to lobby in 2025? Okay, private prison corporation, core civic, and geo group, often discussed together in the context of civil and correctional facilities, spent a combined $8.8 million on federal, state, and local lobbying. That's persuasion in 2025. Now, this is just totally off the cuff. I'm not planning any of this. So then we'll just add, and how much rev did they? And how much revenue did they generate in that year? Let's see where we at. Okay, the revenue generated 2.2 billion in annual revenue. So they spent 8.8 combined. Is this combined? Okay, so they spent 8.7, or let's say 8.5 million to generate. Oh, look at this. Revenue generated 2.6 billion total annual revenue. That's just for Geo Group. Okay, so lobbying spent 5.37 million total in lobbying in 2025. They broke it down to federal lobbying and lobbying for the state and local, and spending 5 million to make $2.6 billion. Where are you going to get a return on investment like that? Tell me that those representatives of the people are representing you and not representing Core Civic, Geo Group, Intuit, Shell Oil, BP, okay, maybe not BP, but Exxon Mobil, Pfizer, Monsanto. There's just so many companies out there that are on the take that have lobbyists on Capitol Hill persuading and bending the ear of the politicians to do their bidding. The politicians aren't working for you. That's why they want to stay in office forever. And when they leave office, they're going to have a cush job working for Raytheon or Boeing or BAE Systems. It all just really sucks. And most Americans don't know this, guys. Most Americans actually think that the president of the United States is working for them. If the mayor's not working for you, if the governor's not working for you, if they're all on the take and they're invested or have been invested in by big business, big oil, big pharma, all the tech giants speaking into their ear saying, hey, we want to buy 62 square miles in Box Elder County, Utah. And they're like, well, you really want to? Okay, well, we'll cut you a sweet deal. Call up Kevin O'Leary. He starts building this 40,000 acre facility in Utah. All the townspeople are rising up. And then the three commissioners make the decision. The gavel hits the table, done deal. And all the people are like, what happened? None of us wanted this. And you three commissioners made it happen? How has nobody been tarred and feathered yet? This is just crazy, man. This is just lunacy. So to actually be infused, have a hopium infused outlook that any politician is going to step in and save us, that any law enforcement agent is actually on your side, is just an absolute crack pipe dream. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in 1913, three things happened: the Federal Reserve, the IRS, and the income tax. All three of those things. It's like the triple threat. Okay, guys, I've rambled long enough. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for everybody who's participated in the chat. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you for everybody who's a member, everybody who sent a super chat or a super thanks. You guys rock, and I don't even know what to say. So I'm not going to wear you out any longer. That's 3 hours and 27 minutes and 53 seconds, and I am out of here. Have a good night.